fucking sad by the
It's
end.
done. I finally look a frog.
I'm joking, I'm taking the piss.
Well, I feel thoroughly buoyed.
No, you...
Hi everyone and welcome to the Sorry I Don't podcast. I'm here with Abby and Swanee. My name's Claude and this week we will be discussing Moulin Rouge.
Yeah, Sorry I Don't podcast. The way it works, it's a few friends here talking about films that we, find ridiculous. Maybe they're amazing. The kind of films you want to discuss with your other friends. And we'll be going through that, a little bit of a plot breakdown, talking about some of the ridiculous things that happen in these films. And of course, then we move on to our own personal ratings, some interesting facts about the films, and then of course, our rogues gallery, which is the villain or implied villain that we see fit based on our very arbitrary standards to be included in the annals of roguish behaviour as seen on film. That's basically what we're doing with that. But yeah, Moulin Rouge came out in 2001, directed by Baz Luhrmann. Now, are we Baz Luhrmann fans here?
Yes.
I love Baz Luhrmann. Also written by Baz Luhrmann.
Did he write it as well?
He did write
That's
it as
fantastic.
well. With another guy who is inconsequential to me.
Craig Pearce.
Baz Luhrmann and his
it.
wee pal.
It's because his name's Craig. Just couldn't invest myself in that, to be honest.
To be fair, Baz Luhrmann and Craig.
Yeah, to be fair, Craig wrote Romeo and Juliet, The Great Gatsby, and Elvis with Luhrmann.
On yourself, Craig,
So
then.
Craig's probably the sensible one out of the pair.
Apologies to Craig Piers or whatever the fuck his
Yeah,
name
shout out
is.
to his family and all that.
I wrote an essay in uni about a film Salvador Dali made, but it was Salvador Dali and another person, and I just kept not mentioning him by name. I was like...
And the other guy.
And the other guy.
Lubin.
Aye, couldn't spell it. Watched the film the night before. Still got first.
Was that Un Chien Andalou or something like that?
Knows, man. Not a clue.
No, I always struggled with Buñuel's name as well because Dali just stands out more. But yes, same with Luhrmann. Baz Luhrmann or Craig. Do you know what I mean? Baz Luhrmann, Craig. Sorry, Craig. But yes, 2001 film starring Nicole Kidman, Ewan McGregor, Jim Broadbent, and co.
Yep, and cool.
And co. Big old cast. Yeah, you guys clearly, you saw this from a very young age, right?
I wasn't that young. I was in my early teens.
Okay, it was still earlier than me.
Early,
I think.
but man, I loved it from day dot. It's amazing. It is my favourite film probably of all time. It ties with Nightmare Before Christmas, very kind of on the same level, just depending on the week if I'm feeling a bit more emo or I'm feeling a bit more...
Which
So-
one's more...
When have you ever been feeling I'm yet to see this emotion from you.
Yeah, same, but also... you're saying one when you're feeling more emo or more bi. Which one is more emo and which one is more bi? Because they're both...
Both.
You're both.
That's true. Aye, yeah, well, aye. But yeah, no, I love Moulin Rouge. Me and my pal Lizzie used to go home like every week when we had free periods and lunch and go and watch Moulin Rouge genuinely on a weekly basis for a couple of months. That's how much I love it. I've seen it probably more than I've seen any film ever. So,
Okay, cool.
And I had a massive crush on Ewan McGregor as well. And that was kind of quashed when he started going out with Mary Elizabeth Winstead and left his wife, and I was a bit like, ugh.
Scandal.
Boggin.
Also, when I saw his little ponytail in the Star Wars prequels, that kind of creeped me out as well.
So funny. Because
Little
obviously,
rat tail.
obviously came before this, but you must have seen it.
Yeah, well, I
But
mean,
you
like,
didn't equate the two
I
together.
didn't connect Christian in Moulin Rouge with
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
wee rat tail. Aye.
Wee rat tail. He is wee rat tail in that film.
Yeah, it's wee rat tail.
Can't wait till we do all the Star Wars films on this because the prequels especially, because god damn it. But yes, Ewan McGregor. I like Ewan McGregor, good actor, good Scottish actor, and because he's so Scottish, and I prefer him best when he does play characters that are allowed to be Scottish or at least British, as opposed to the ones where he has to do silly accents, like I don't know, some Da Vinci Code film that he was in. It was a terrible accent. But when he's in this, it works so well because you're just like, that's a wee Scottish guy. Look at him, just so many of the things I find really funny are just the way he just says something. Like he's just a wee lad that I say, he's got this beautiful voice, and it's, oh, sorry, pal. Very funny.
What's he doing here?
What's going on?
What's he
Love
doing
that.
here hanging out with Toulouse-Lautrec?
Yeah, like hanging out with like fucking bona stars, like Nicole Kidman, and he's like, all right, hen. Not quite, obviously, but it gives that kind of feeling. And
Love
I
his
do
class,
enjoy that.
man.
But yeah, so it was a film that I saw a bit later in life. I saw it at university, and it was one of those situations where it was kind of forced on me to watch it. Like, it was a bunch of people.
Just like this then.
Aye, but I was less willing to be nice about it. So folk were like, oh my God, you've not seen Moulin Rouge? And then they start singing the song to me, and I'm just here like, okay. Right, sorry, I don't. And then they're playing it, and I'm kind of like doing that kind of, I don't really want to watch this. And then I'll watch it and be like, okay, that bit's okay. Oh, and then suddenly they'll be singing some fucking random song, a bit of Nirvana, and I'm like, what the hell am I watching? And then they cut to something else, and then it was just all a lot, and I really didn't like it when I first watched it. I didn't think it was terrible. I didn't love it, and I think there was kind of that built-up resistance of, I don't need to like this. It's actually cooler if I don't like it. And so then I just never watched it for years until you guys made me watch it for this podcast. And, well, why don't we go through the plot and we'll discuss
But I
how
thought the
felt.
film.
I'm so sorry. For some
No, I'm winding you up.
very funny.
But yeah, I don't know when I saw this. I definitely watched it as a teenager, loved it. Probably saw it too young an age and remember bits of it, but I do just remember that, like, I feel like I was very influenced at a young age by the Lady Marmalade music video. Like, I knew every single word to that song. I would perform it for groups of my family, which as a 2-year-old is not great. There's home videos of me on holidays, like in a frilly yellow like little outfit, singing all the words to Lady Marmalade with like gusto.
Is that the
Independent women, some mistake us for whores. I say, why spend mine when I can spend yours at a very young age?
So that's her opening number that you were singing.
Voulez-vous coucher avec moi?
That's really, really shocking. Ooh. Funny though.
So yeah, we'll jump into the plot. So we start off, it's a pretty interesting intro into a film because we know essentially from the outset how it's going to end, because we have Christian, played by Ewan McGregor, at his typewriter, and he is basically writing the story of his love with Satine, who is Nicole Kidman. And when he is introducing that's what's going on, he says, the woman I loved is dead. So we know from the outset, Nicole Kidman's going to die. You know that from day dot.
Immediately hit it with that tragedy, and
it's very kind of sad and solemn at the beginning, and then it goes.
Yeah, it's weird because I really love that. Like, see, even just the 20th century logo, like when it's opening to the 20th century and there's like a wee guy conducting it.
Yeah, and it's and it's curtains opening instead. Yeah, it's
really cool, really nice. And then I like when it goes somber, as you're saying, with Ewan McGregor just being like, "Aye, you like that little bit of fun? Aye, well, my love's dead.
Yeah,
Here we go, settle in."
So it starts off with what's the opening musical number? I've just blanked. Like the
Sound of Music.
Oh, it is.
Yeah. Aye, yeah.
Why the fuck is it The Sound of Music?
Oh, what, when they're actually like performing together?
Just generally, why? Yeah, that's what right down here. Like, why The Sound of Music, man?
This is already a musical.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of essential idea of it, is that it is a musical within a play within a. It goes on and on and on, and it's a jukebox musical. Which
This was the thing that got me, because I think I didn't get that the first few times I watched it. I was just like, why
what do
are
you
we?
mean you didn't get it? What did you?
Right.
Did you think they were like ripping all these songs and pretending they'd wrote it themselves?
Yeah, no. Basically, I think I just used not to get why they were singing pop songs.
Right.
I used to just be like, oh, this is a bit cynical, cash grabby, a bit cheap. But then it's just.
You didn't know what a jukebox musical
But
was.
it's a pantomime. It's basically just a pantomime. It's meant to be like that. It's meant to be a bit silly. It's meant to be like have familiar songs that we as an audience will know modern times. Draw you in and, make a body love story around all that. So see when that kind of clicked for me, all these questions of why the fuck are we listening to The Sound of Music or Nirvana, it was like, oh, I get it.
Because you know when you like listen to a song that already exists in something and you're like, oh, you imagine this little like other world for it. You've literally done this before with your Bet On It musical.
Yes.
Swanee has heard the song Bet On It from High School Musical and has invented, from High School Musical 2, and has invented an entire different musical based around the song Bet On It.
Solely that song.
Just on that song. And I think that's what this film is doing. It's
three male protagonists, a split stage. All three of them love the same woman for different reasons. One's a villain, one's her best friend, but she's always had a thing for him, hit back and forth. And the other's like her ex-boyfriend who was just a dickhead. But they all want to lay claim and they all have like weapons.
That's very fucking Wattpad of you.
But that's what this is, isn't it? It's like, I don't care that that's already in The Sound of Music. I want it in my film.
Aye, exactly.
And I think as soon as I realised that, it kind of raised everything up just a little bit more for me. I was like, okay, I get it more now. And I think the opening's really good at just setting up.
Sets the tone. So you are set in Paris. That's where Christian, Ewan McGregor, is. And he has travelled there from England to pursue his career in becoming an artist. He wants to be a bohemian.
Yes.
And he wants to kind of live cheaply in Paris and do the things he loves and be creative and crazy. And his father doesn't approve, but he goes off anyway. And his father, from the get-go, is like, you're going to go to Paris, you're going to go to Moulin Rouge, you're going to fall in love with one of the courtesans, and that'll be your life ruined. Which is exactly what happens.
He says something like, you'll ruin your life in Moulin Rouge over some love.
No, it doesn't have a Scottish accent. He's got this weird like Russian accent for no given reason.
You thought it was Russian? I thought it was like vaguely Scottish, but I couldn't work it out.
This ridiculous obsession with love. That's how he speaks.
Is that okay?
Aye.
That's not how he spoke to me. This guy, I didn't like this guy.
You don't like this guy. His dad seems like a bit of a cock.
But I mean, he gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Kind of my pick for Rogues Gallery.
Yes. That's what I was going to say.
This is another thing about this film. It's got many rogues, but we'll get to that. I've got a list of potential rogues.
Please do. I was struggling a little bit.
It was one of the main reasons I wanted to particularly talk about it on this podcast because, man, there's a fucking posse of rogues in this film.
Posse of rogues.
So he goes to Paris and he is essentially like, yeah, I want to be an artist and I want to write about love, but I've never been in love, so how am I going to do that? Yep. He ends up running into, basically he lives down the stairs from Toulouse-Lautrec. Toulouse-Lautrec was an artist, a real artist who lived in Paris and did art for the real Moulin Rouge. I've got loads of the art up on my wall and I did my entire art project on Toulouse-Lautrec.
See, this is what was crazy to me. When I was like looking up facts for Moulin Rouge, I was typing in Moulin Rouge and it kept going, get your tickets to the Moulin Rouge. I was like, what? I want to go see the musical. And then I realised it was a place.
Yeah.
It was real. It was a real club.
And there's obviously tours of that. I had no idea.
There's also a stage play, and man, see the stage play. I was looking up the stage play because I've always wanted to see it because I always thought this would be amazing.
I think it'd be a really good stage play.
It would be a good stage play if they, chose good songs for it because they've changed some of the songs for it. Listen to this. They've got Never Gonna Give You Up by Rick Astley's in it. What else was in it? There was one that really kind of Shut Up and Dance With Me by Walk the Moon. That's
what?
It.
What? I don't even want that to play in a cheap nightclub. Never mind the fucking Moulin Rouge stage adaptation in the West End, Broadway.
I know.
That must be money. That must be the rights because if you're capturing once
they have all the other songs as well that are already in it.
Oh, so they're just adding songs on?
They've added songs in, and I think every location has a different kind of song in it. And there's another song because Shop and Dance With Me is like linked in with another awful song that just doesn't fit whatsoever.
It just reminds me of like every...
Hello by Adele's in it.
Hello by Adele is in it?
There's something else.
That song wasn't even out when it came out. I get that's kind of the point, you're updating it as you go along, but sounds so shocking. Yeah, that doesn't sound
I feel like every pantomime I've seen since that song Shut Up and Dance With Me came, maybe that's the point, maybe that's why it's in it.
Is that the one, Shut Up?
Yes.
I do love that song.
I actually said I don't want it to play in a cheap nightclub, but see when it comes on in a cheap nightclub, I've forgotten what it is. I'm just buzzing that I know one of the songs in the club for once.
It's great. It's a great song.
Listen, it's not a terrible song, but for Moulin Rouge, like really?
It's not the right fit.
There's other ones that are terrible. I need to bring them up. Royals by Lorde.
What
is that
the
about?
fuck are they singing?
We Are Young by Fun. Remember that song?
I know that song.
No. Raise Your Glass by Pink. I think Raise Your Glass by Pink and Shut Up and Dance are like linked into the same song, like they do a mash of it. How shocking is that? There's
I feel a bit sick.
I know, it's so bad. There's another one that was particularly bad that really upset me. Where is it? Got another.
Oh no.
What were you gonna say?
I was like, why does the song Raise Your Glass by Pink, why is that triggering a memory for me? But
Only Girl in the World by Rihanna. He sings Only Girl in the World to Satine.
No.
How fucking mortifying is that?
That's mortifying.
That is no alright.
That's
Abby,
so
give us your memory.
cringe. No, I just realised that, so this pertains to the lost episode of the Sorry I Don't podcast.
The lost episode.
So this week's episode is actually 6.2. Just cat's out of the bag. Sorry, guys.
We tried. We tried. We struggled. We strove, and we failed.
Yeah,
to
you
get a
try
good
and you
one.
try, to quote Swanee.
You try and you try. You just can't get it done sometimes.
Essentially, we basically reviewed the film that was so mad that we couldn't really review it.
We didn't have reins on ourselves
No.
the entire
Oh.
time.
This
or
film
this
was
film.
mad, and it was made in the 80s, and for some reason we watched a super cut of like the characters in the film, like love moments, and they were cut to Raise Your Glass by Pink. And that was jarring then, and it's even more jarring to imagine it in the stage adaptation of Moulin Rouge. And now
shocking.
anytime there's like a vibe shift or something's not the right tone,
Yeah.
I'm just going to hear
Raise Your Glass.
Glass by Pink over every serious moment of my life.
It's like Blanche in Streetcar Named Desire hearing the polka theme whenever she's like
Literally.
feeling triggered. She starts listening to Raise Your Glass by Pink in your head.
If you're too school for cool.
So-
Why is that in the Moulin
Why
Rouge?
is that in the Moulin Rouge musical? It's not in the Moulin Rouge
But it's not in the
musical.
film, which is the most important thing. So
Yes.
Oh, aye.
you have Toulouse-Lautrec and his posse live upstairs from Christian, and
They just fall through the roof.
aye, you've got the narcoleptic Argentinian. That's his. That's the
Character.
character's name. He falls through the roof. He's meant to be playing the main part in the play that Toulouse is putting on. Toulouse is putting on a play. It's called Spectacular, and he has this woman who's like writing the play for them. So the narcoleptic Argentinian falls through the ceiling into Christian's apartment. He goes upstairs to speak to them, and they're struggling to find the end of the words for "The hills are alive with the sound of music." So they're all like, "The hills are." Well, they're tingling with sensation, and they're all getting the words wrong.
Yeah.
And everyone's like scrapping and talking over each other and stuff like that. It's all very overwhelming. And then Ewan McGregor gets to the top of this like piece of set that's shaped like a hill, and it's like, "The hills are alive." And then everyone's like, "That was amazing. He's class. I want him to be in this."
That was beautiful.
The one time, yeah. So
Swanee and Claude were in the car together, and this thing got regaled to me, and I had to live through it a second time. I don't know if I quite agree with Claude's consensus. But there's a song called
you.
Second Chance
By
by
Shinedown.
Shinedown. And they were in the car together, and Swanee was really belting it out of the car. And at the end, Claude, who is very sincere to
No.
Swanee especially, turns and goes, "That was beautiful, man."
and it has been my
mental.
karaoke song ever since. Just so I can hear that one compliment, or at least remember that compliment. That makes me sound really fucking sad. No, it's a fun song to sing. But yes, that is the
It
exact...
was beautiful, man. You did a good job.
Thank you.
You'd have been a great Christian.
I'd be a better Ziegler.
That's true. We'll get there.
So,
But I really enjoyed... Well, I love that the reaction is, "Oh, it's amazing." Because my reaction was like, can we fucking dial it back just a little bit, Ewan McGregor? Like at this point, I wasn't fully on board with a jukebox silly. I was just like, fucking jukebox, no, sit down. Like, it's not even just the song. The song is it's like, it's like, right, okay. But it's that bit just before it where he's like, "But I'd never been in love." Zoom,
Yeah.
smash cut into his face. And I was just like, oh,
aye,
turn that
because
down.
they're like, "You should join our trip," and he's like, "Okay, but I don't know if I can, because like, what's everyone gonna think? No, I'm not sure." And they're like, "Do you believe in truth, beauty, freedom, and love?"
Yes, love. And he looks off. Oh, yeah, right.
This is also where I was like, oh my God. Like, see what you said about him being so Scottish. And I don't know whether people, I'd love to know somebody who's not like Scottish or like has been raised in Scotland, whether they have the same interpretation of this.
Yeah.
Because I realised watching this when they're like, that was beautiful, keep going. And he looks at them and he's like, and I was like, oh my God, you can really say I without saying anything. His wee face just goes, I.
Yeah. It's a very effective word at just communicating anything like aye, agreement or aye. Like, no.
His face has a Scottish accent.
His face has a Scottish
it's
accent.
So overpowering. Like, even, I mean, I don't know whether he's meant to have a Scottish accent or not. He obviously does.
Yeah.
But like, even when he's not speaking, I'm like, you look so Scottish.
He's got just like such a wee guy face, doesn't he?
He does.
He does. Dead pale. Basically, the writer that Toulouse had beforehand, she quits in a rage because they're so in love with Ewan McGregor, and they're like, "Oh, why don't you work together?" And she's like, "Fuck that! And I'm not working with this guy. Not working with
she gets the
wee
measure
rat
of him.
tail."
Yeah, she's my casting actually. I'm her. Fuck off. Bye.
You leave
Bye.
within 5 minutes of the film
Yeah, I'm
starting.
done. Fuck, guys, this is way too much. That was confusing as hell.
So they're like, brilliant. What our plan is that we want to pitch Spectacular to Satine, who is the head performer and the courtesan at the Moulin Rouge, because we think that she can convince Ziedler, who is the manager and owner of the Moulin Rouge,
Played by Jim Broadbent.
Yes, to put it on and to, you'll be able to write it and we'll be able to put it on this show and she'll be able to star in it. It'll be amazing. And he's like, cool. And they're like, but you're going to have to be the one who kind of seduces her, basically. And you're going to have to like pitch it to her. And he's like, oh, I don't know. I've never been in love. And
She's like, oh, you need to get her alone. Alone? It's like, Jesus, man. Can we get some res?
aye. He's got
I'm
amazing.
sweaty. No.
Again, we're getting another film where our main male character is getting bullied a lot.
Yeah.
What is this with our picks?
I think though, like at the start of the film, at least, it kind of the dynamic changes a bit later. But I think that he is a lot more. I want to apologize for him because he's just a, like, you know, he's passionate about the arts and he's just a nice guy and he's excited about being in Paris. He's no Matthew Perry, you know.
Yeah, okay, he's not Matthew Perry. And look, I'll give you that. Fair enough. You can give that apology, but I'm still allowed to take the piss out of him.
No, listen. Aye.
Thank you. That's all I ask.
See how yous felt about Leonardo DiCaprio in Titanic and the fact that he looked like a wee boy. I was like, why does this grown man act like a wee boy? I was having the opposite problem here because, to be honest, like Leonardo DiCaprio in that film, I'm like, he's still got a bit of something about him. He's full of charisma. He's like so like he takes control of situations. He's got loads of confidence. Yeah, he looks quite fresh-faced, but in this, I'm like, grow up and get a grip of yourself.
It's a wee bit kind of red flaggy. Like, obviously he wants to go to Paris to pursue this career, but what was he doing in fucking Glasgow where he lived before?
30 years before.
That he got chucked at and that he's like, you know, never taken a woman before. Do you know what I mean?
Just getting screamed at by his dad. Constantly. That was it.
No, his dad doesn't say anything else. He just says the same thing over and over to him forever. That's why he had to leave.
That's why he ended up moving to the Moulin Rouge, falling in love with a courtesan and having his ridiculous obsession with love shattered because that's all his dad screamed at him. It became a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Dad, can you teach me how to shave? Son, you're never going to find anything but love with a courtesan in Moulin Rouge and waste your life. Yeah, Dad, you've said, but I'm late for school. Can I get some money for the bus? I'm telling you, son, you're just going to end up in the Moulin Rouge and you're going to fall in love with on repeat. That's how I imagine that relationship
I wonder
was.
though if Christian's dad's actually in a character we can feel sympathy more. Maybe he's just been like, can you get a job, go to school? Like, maybe you'll find a girlfriend doing that, like becoming a kind of whole person, stuff like that. Save up some money, you know, go there, establish yourself a wee bit. And he's like, no man, I'm just gonna go fucking raw dog the entire scenario, just like empty suitcase, fuck it, shoes I've got on my feet, clothes I've got on my back, doesn't fucking matter. And he's like, can you just make a plan, man? Like anything,
I'll give
how
you
are
money.
you so in love when you've never experienced it before? Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
There's not even any TV at the time to be able to watch these things and be like, oh, that's class, I want some of that.
Son, you've not left your room. You've never left your room, son. What are you talking about? Oh, that's so true.
Right?
Like, no, I think viewing his dad is actually really just trying to reach him, and he's just refusing to be reached. Rot? No, that's not the right word.
Rot?
He's refusing to be rot. Yeah, okay, I'll get. Yeah, he refuses to be rot. But the plot of this film will ring him good. So let's ring him.
So they go to the Moulin Rouge, and when they go to the Moulin Rouge, it is crazy. There's lots of dancing going on. There's a wee kind of medley of different tunes going on here. So you've got Lady Marmalade, you've got Smells Like Teen Spirit, a couple other songs.
You got the Can.
You've got the Can, of course, the Can, one of my favourite bits.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, because we can, like Fatboy Slim.
Yeah, yes, yeah. I didn't know it was. Is that Fatboy Slim?
Yeah, it's Fatboy
That's amazing. Slim. Okay, that makes sense. I've always enjoyed that opening bit.
Yeah,
even when I didn't really like the film that much.
I thought, see, when you were saying it was a bit much, because that was your like consensus after watching it, I thought that was the bit you would have been talking about.
Yeah, but I'm fine with it being a bit much there because it makes sense that we're in the Moulin Rouge. The bit much bits are, it's just me looking at it overall because it is a bit fucking much. Like, see, like that, any scene with the acting troupe with John Leguizamo, that's how you say it, Leguizamo, yeah. Any scenes with them, it's just like, man, can we dial it down a little bit here? Oh my god! And everyone's just going, funny, and it's like, Christ. Is that a bit much? See, that's what I felt. I had to communicate that to you. I was like, I'm going to overdo this.
No, I don't think you're getting it.
That's you.
Going around annoying the people. Aye, that's you.
You came into my room the other week and just grabbed a pair of scissors off my desk and started pretending to cut me.
You don't tell people that, Abby. See, when you say it outside of the context of me being funny, it sounds horrible.
Chasing me about my own gaff with a pair of scissors.
Once, and not really. It was all funny. Hence the laughter.
So,
but yes, I'll take that. Fuck's sake.
There's all these can dancers. It's extremely colourful. You've got like all these kind of bachelors dancing with them as well, with their top hats and suits on. It's like a big affair going to the Moulin Rouge, clearly. And you have Toulouse and his wee posse with Christian all sitting waiting, and they're like, right, so Toulouse is saying, like, I've got a meeting set up with Satine for you, so that you can pitch the play. And then on the other kind of side of the, they're like sitting in a booth, and then the other side of the booth, you've got this other gentleman, and this is where you're introduced to both Ziedler and the Duke.
Yes.
So the Duke is the main villain of the film. He is just a disgusting little rat man who I hate with all my heart.
He's a disgusting rat man, isn't he?
He's so rat-like. I hate that man. So we meet Ziedler as well, who's absolutely fucking amazing. Jim Broadbent just like saw that part and was like, I'm gonna go fucking full throttle with this.
He really does well with that part, and it's a great part. And he's no matter what I disliked about the film when I was younger, I always was like, but Jim Broadbent was fun in that musical number.
You would be class as Jim Broadbent,
I'd love to play that role, just with the top hat and the big moustache.
So be your casting.
So Toulouse is saying, I'm gonna get this meeting and you can pitch our play, whereas Ziedler is saying, like, I'm gonna have a meeting with you and Satine, basically saying, like, you'll be able to sleep with our kind of like most, I don't know how you say it, like best courtesan.
Yes.
And then in exchange for that, you will invest in the club so that it can be converted into a theatre.
Yeah.
And Disgusting Little Rat Man is very buzzing for this because he's never got his dick wet in his life. So,
you said it, not me.
So at this point, you have Satine come in.
Yes, she comes into what was the song? Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend.
Yes,
because they're the Diamond Dogs.
The Diamond Dogs.
Yeah, they are dogs. I did hear that right. Because at first I was like, wait, have I got that right? But yes, that makes sense.
Diamond Dogs.
The Diamond Dags. No, she comes in, great. The whole room stops. It's a little bit cliche. It's a little bit on the nose. And I'm like, give me more of the fun. Can we get? But I get it because we're meant to show fucking
We're transfixed.
Yeah.
By Satine.
And honestly, if I was ever going to be transfixed by anyone, it would be Nicole Kidman as Satine because
She is
Oh
so
my
she's
God.
unbelievably beautiful.
So beautiful.
And she's such a good actress because it's really interesting because we last saw her in Eyes Wide Shut.
Yeah.
We watched it together, and you can totally see how come from Eyes Wide Shut, which is that she's that really sensual, seductive role with a reality to it, then putting that into something like this. You can just see. It's just so cool to see her do similar but different things and just progress that. And I really, really enjoy her performance in it. She really sells a lot of it, like Emma Thompson did in the film that we do not talk about on the podcast anymore. That's just little glimpses to give people little clues, little hints what the Lost podcast episode is.
Nanny McPhee?
No.
You would think.
You would think. No. But no, I really I enjoyed that, and I love that this whole plot with we need to get the Duke to give money so we can get a theatre is told by her and Jim Broadbent whispering in during her act when she's dancing.
Yeah,
Really
so she
like
comes
that.
down in a swing, and then all the other kind of can dancers dance around her while she changes costume in the
Yes.
middle of the dance floor because she's that cool.
Yeah.
Another thing, I just picked so many things up from films and thought that I could pass them off in my real life. I remember I had like a non-school uniform day, and I thought I would have a costume change under a table at lunch. I'm gonna change my outfit 'cause I've got so many fabulous outfits. I just pick one for school uniform day. Didn't get a big enough reaction about my first one, so I'm gonna change into something probably more covered in sequins. And yeah, I think it was like a mixture between this and the Bratz movie scene where our parents don't let her wear her favourite outfit to school, so our friends all stand round her, apart from the fact my pals were like, Abby, going fucking get up. Embarrassing
And you're
yourself,
like, I
man.
want
Get
Bratz
out from under the table, man.
Oh no.
You're crunching us all out.
You've stood in my pizzini.
Abby, it's maths. You're missing the test.
So Ziedler basically explains to Satine, he's like, right, you're going to go and woo the Duke and you're going to get us this funding and then you'll become a real actress, because we learn that her real dream is not to be a can dancer, it's not to be a courtesan, she wants to be an actress, she wants to be a proper real actress.
Look, this scene's really good. As much as I think, parts of this film could be edited differently, the fucking flow of all the information in this sequence is so good. You get all of it set up. Ewan McGregor's in love with her. We're in love with her. Ziedler and Satine. Mm-hmm. Why did I try to say Zidler and Zabine? Ziedler. Oh my god!
It's because you want to say Ziegler, like Maddie Ziegler, and I can see you trying not to.
Ziedler and Satine have clearly done this before, and it just reminded me of when me or you guys have had some sort of little plot, and we're like, okay, everything's going right. You got to do this now. Okay, what should I be like this? No, more like this. Do it like that. Okay, go. Like literally.
Yeah, it's an old shenanigans.
Abby and I would pretend to be a warring couple in a nightclub, so Abby would go and get a free drink from some guy, then bring them back to us.
That makes me sound like an actual courtesan. There was one occasion in which we were both very drunk, and I was flirting with a guy, and then he bought me a drink, and I think I tried to give one off to you or something. We were going to get caught, so we just pretended to be a couple that had an argument.
Yeah, and I was like, "What are you doing, mate? This is my bird. And he was like, "Oh, sorry, man, sorry."
And that's when we were like, "We're going to be best friends for life, man." That was sick.
It's so evil. It's such a rush.
And then we were like, "We're both going to hell.
We're both going to hell
Together."
And then how we dance, and it was dusk on a Tuesday with no one in it.
It was more smoke machine than people.
To clarify, dusk is a nightclub in our university town, and it was very quiet.
No longer
sometimes.
exists.
No longer exists. Although
Probably because it was so quiet.
Again, my point of view of this, it reminds me of how cool at the time I thought it was when I used to have platinum blonde, shoulder length hair, and Swanee is a big man, obviously. So we decided that we were gonna reenact the entirety of the music video for Elastic Heart by Sia together, because I had the kind of Sia hair going on, and at the time I was like, that was class, man. That was really good. We fucking nailed that. That whole performance.
Barked nonsense direction at you. You just repeating
He's
the
a
lyrics
sad
of the
man.
song.
He's a very sad man.
You've got thick skin, and an elastic heart saying the words of the song.
And we did this in your old flat, which was like a
So
fucking
small.
sauna. And it was so small. I remember being topless, steaming drunk, dripping with sweat. I'm like,
Swinging me about.
I'm swinging you about, and you're gripping on. I can feel your hands like clamber on my sweaty back, and I'm swinging you around. Like, we are so good at this.
This is art.
And Abby's just given the
This
most.
is the Moulin Rouge.
This is the Moulin Rouge. No,
We brought our own Moulin Rouge to
it was
lockdown.
a fucking Moulin Rust. It was fucking grim, man. Very funny though.
Mulan ready.
The Moulin Rouge. It was the Moulin Rouge. I remember watching it back the next day. Like, we're
All
really funny,
about-
man, but not talented. Christ.
That's why we're doing a podcast. So at this point, Satine, so Ziedler's like, oh, the Duke is the man that Toulouse is shaking a hanky at, right?
Yeah.
Because he had been shaking a hanky at the Duke because he tipped a drink over him, right?
Yeah.
And then when Satine gets up to look, he's then actually grabbing a hanky off of Christian, and he's like, it looks like he's waving at him. And then Satine's like, "Are you sure?" And then he looks back, and then he's waving it back at the Duke again. So Ziedler's like, "Yep, it's the Duke," whereas Satine thinks the Duke is Christian. There's been a whole calamity of errors, like physical
classic
comedy rules.
misconceptions.
Yeah.
It was great.
So Satine goes over to Christian and is like, "Come and have a dance with me," and he's like, I don't think so. And she's like, does this kind of like wee sexy dance, and then they kind of finish off their wee dance at the Moulin Rouge, and she goes back up in the swing and she's doing the finale of Diamond's Our Girl's Best Friend, and then everything goes dark. She starts to get out of breath. She's sweating and she falls off the swing, and then one of her can dancers catches her at the bottom, and then she gets taken away.
And Ziedler? Yes. Fucking hell. Jim Broadbent almost gives the game
Wee
away
Jimmy.
by going, "No!" And then everyone's like, "Oh my God, what's happened? Is she okay? Is she okay?" And he's like, "Oh, it's part of the act. Oh, you've scared her off."
You chased her away.
Yeah, you chased her away. Yeah, I love that. And then he's like dripping with sweat, like, fucking make sure she's all right, man. She needed to go see the Duke. My entire fucking the Duke. My entire fucking life is based on you being alive for at least one more night. Oh my God.
And then
He goes out.
so she's getting checked out by the doctor, and we get introduced by the kind of like you have a character, and in quite a lot of films it's a bit of a trope where you have one character who has like 1-2 lines and they just do one thing in the film and they're a total arsehole for it, and then you're like, fuck you. We get introduced to Nini, who's one of the can dancers who's clearly really
God.
jealous of Satine, and she comes in and like Satine's kind of has fainted, so she's all flushed and the doctor's shouting her out, and she's like, oh, she's not in any fit state to be shagging the Duke tonight, and you're like, Jesus, Nini, can you fuck off? Like,
There's a lot of comparisons between Moulin Rouge and Les Mis in my mind.
Yeah.
They both feature courtesan, sort of lady of the night characters that die of tuberculosis, and one wee bent who's just hell bent on ruining her life for some reason. Like in Les Mis, there's this woman in the factory that gets Fatine. Oh my God. Yeah. Fontaine. Oh my God. I'm not. Oh, what the hell? Oh, because Satine in this, right? Sorry. Public apology. I've never in my life got something about Les Mis wrong. But she's in the workhouse, and this wee arsehole produces this letter that reveals that she's got a secret child and everything like that, and that's what gets her fired, and that's why she has to become a prostitute. That's basically just this character again, because she's just deeply unlikable.
bent.
Yeah.
Absolute wee cow.
Absolute bent.
She could be she's a potential.
She's on my rogues list.
She's a contender.
She's like
for
a really
rogues,
evil
'cause
rogue though.
She's no
Uh-oh.
good. She's no
Wank.
good. Aye.
So
All the evil words. We say nicer things about fucking Goldfinger than we say about her.
So they kind of fix her up, and she goes to the elephant room, which is her kind of room where she seduces men.
Yes.
And yes,
Why is it an elephant? Have I missed something? Is like an elephant like representative of?
the elephant. The reason why it's an elephant, I think, is because obviously the play. Like, this isn't the reason it was originally an elephant, but the play Spectacular ends up being set in India, so that's where the kind of inspiration for that came from. So they were like, oh, like, where would that inspiration have come from? Oh, it's an elephant room.
Oh,
Okay.
cool.
I mean, I guess trunk, phallic object. I don't know.
Maybe.
Something.
Oh well, fair enough.
You're looking horrified at me.
Just because you went, I don't know, trunk. As if that was a point.
Trunk is like a. Oh no, I'm not going to go into it. I don't know. There's something suggestive about a trunk, I guess. Is that what we're trying to do with that?
Maybe.
I don't know why it's an elephant. Yeah. It is. Ooh.
Oh, don't ever. So,
Sorry, canny.
Christian shows up at the elephant room, and he is like he thinks he's going for a poetry reading. He thinks he's gonna pitch the play. She thinks that she's gonna seduce and shag him. So neither of them knows what's going on. So she's like in this really kind of hot black lace floor length dress, and like she looks really sexy, and she's like kind of trying to get him to come onto the bed with her and stuff like that, and he's just like, I just want to read my poetry, please. And she's like, oh, poetry, like dirty words, and he's like, no,
there's
just
this like
poetry,
really good
please.
double entendre back and forth. It's very funny, and everything's good in it as well. But yeah, like what was it? It's because Ziegler, fucking hell, Ziegler tells her to be
Ziegler.
Maddie Ziegler.
don't Maddie Ziegler me. No, Ziegler. Ziegler is told her to be sultry and sexy because there was like 3 different options that she could do.
Again, why do I feel like this
Smouldering temperatures.
Smouldering temperatures, and I was like, yep, that would work. That's good.
Yeah, it's also like I was like, if I'm going on a date or a night out or something, I'm like, okay, what's the vibe? What do we think? Like, and Swanee's like, I think this. Go for this outfit.
Silly and quirky. Nah. Do the sultry one again. Sultry. Yeah. That works. That'll work. So that's
if I may butt in for a second, the reason there's an elephant is because in the actual Moulin Rouge, the elephant served as a luxurious opium den where for a single franc gentleman could enter by the spiral staircase inside the leg and be greeted by belly dancers inside the belly of the beast.
Oh.
This is high tech for what, like the early turn of the century.
Late
What was with the inclusion of belly of the beast?
Because it was probably a more bigger phrase for like getting depraved and really just going fucking mental and having a wild party. What's the word for
Can we
it?
bring that back?
Yeah, belly of the beast. You're in the belly of the beast, so you got a belly dance.
Aye,
That
Mango's the belly of the beast of
Mango,
the current day.
Mango is the belly of the beast.
Mango's the belly of our beast. Anytime we go to Mango, we just get feral.
The
We
belly-
become fucking disgusting.
Also,
man.
Mango's a nightclub. Should probably mention that.
Yeah.
For
Yeah,
anyone that's
Mango's
not
a
been.
Glasgow nightclub on Sauchiehall Hall Street, and I think that we all think we're fucking courtesan can-can dancers whenever we show up. So,
But yeah, no, that back and forth is very, very good. And
Yeah.
we've got a lot of them just not getting what each other are saying, which I enjoyed. And one of the things I thought was very funny is when he goes, I can be a man who makes potions for a travelling show. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about, man? Sing a song, say some poetry, or shag her. But did he do this? Whatever the hell you're trying to do here.
This is like when your parents used to make you go trick or treating at Halloween. And I'd be like, right, do your wee party piece, and you stand there like, I don't know, I've forgotten the words to my. Can I have my sweeties, please?
And the hills are alive with the sound of sound. Thank you.
So cringe to watch.
it is cringe. I always kind of cringe a wee bit as well when she's like flopping about the floor and she's like screaming yes as if she's like actually coming at the idea of him going, traveling show. Like,
yeah, she's
mortifying.
she's nailing it. She's absolutely nailing the performance, and it's
Yeah.
very, very funny. But again, so full on. This is when I'm starting to get back. Like, okay, can we? The energy's
Yeah.
really picking up again. I feel like I'm gonna have a fucking panic attack watching this.
But yeah,
I
there's
thought you were
like
going to say something else.
No,
oh my god.
not yet.
Not yet.
No, like she's not been right. What are we talking about? Continue on.
Moving on.
So-
this is a point as well here where she's like going gaining big
Laldy.
licks, literally gaining big licks on the floor, and there's a point where he just looks at her over his shoulder as if like she's minging. He just looks at her and he goes. Like he obviously feels so uncomfortable in that situation.
He's
But
so
I think
buoyed.
again, because of this really Scottish expression that he has, it's just like, what the fuck?
All right, hen.
So then, to top that all off, he starts singing Your Song by Elton John to her.
which is ridiculous. And at first I was like, oh, this is a nice song. And then I realised what it was, and I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. But very funny. And it's like, because he hits it. Because he's trying to hit the note, he's trying to get it. And then as soon as he hits the note, I remember writing this down, all the lights in Paris turn on. And that just made me think, wait a minute, how many musicals has Paris had at this time? They must be fucking done in with everyone just singing. The lights are on. Oh my God, who's in love? What revolution? Who's died? Who do they need to kill? Oh, what passion is being suppressed or not suppressed? Ah, yeah. Another revolutionary jingle from Pierre. Aye, class. I'll make 6 this fucking week. Brilliant.
I just like to bring up the fact that I love your song as a normal song, but I also really loved it when he sung it. I just like. Moulin Rouge is probably one of my
You just did a very visceral squirm there when you said that.
I know it's because of what I'm about to say.
What I'm about to say.
It's because I used to listen to Moulin Rouge soundtrack like all day, every day, all the time because I loved it so much. And I did a wee bit of a you here. I used to kind of sing your song how I thought Ewan Mcgregor sung it in school, hoping that people would come up and be like, oh my God, listen to your voice, it's so good.
I hate that that's my brand.
That is your brand.
Also, like, I remember, and I'll admit to it now, and hope that she never watches it, but I remember, like, I said earlier, me and my pal Lizzie loved this film, and I used to sing it in her room, and I used to be like, yeah, I wonder if she'll say that my voice is really good. Shout out to Lizzie.
Oh God, that's very funny.
It's mortifying.
I love watching these films, if for nothing else, just to get these little revelations of, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oh, that I understand why Claude's like that now.
I don't know if we could call any of them a revelation. All of us like that tracks.
Yeah, that is more of a that tracks, which is why I can't wait to show you guys The Room, and then you'll see why that's one of my favourite films, and be like, oh, that tracks.
I'd like to ask as well now, what do you think of Ewan McGregor's voice? Because I feel like whenever you talk about Moulin Rouge, it's a very kind of contested topic as to what people think of Ewan McGregor's voice in this.
When we were talking about this yesterday, you were like, oh, there's like so much stuff in this film that you can kind of debate about Ewan McGregor's singing voice. And I thought, oh, that's fun. And like I said, I haven't seen the film in years because whenever I think about the film and think about Ewan McGregor singing or listen to the soundtrack, it's always Tango de Roxanne, which comes on later in the film. And I would say that's quite a good vocal performance from him.
Yeah.
So that was kind of what stuck in my memory. And I was like, oh, I mean, I guess it's really not everyone's taste, and he's clearly not like a trained singer. But I kind of guess it's that bad. And then I was watching this and I was like, oh, wait a second.
Yeah.
It's also like the song itself doesn't help, and there's a couple of instances because it's like she's trying to back away from him and trying to get space, and he's just like constantly, repeatedly, and they were like, mate, calm down. Like,
It's just not a great song as well. Having done my own renditions of the song quite a few times throughout the years,
I've often
I
been
can tell
quoted.
you song.
Often being quoted singing shite.
It's not very easy song to sing well, if that makes sense, because the
Yes.
actual song he's not belting it out. You know, it's a very kind of muted song originally.
It's fucking Elton John.
Aye, yeah.
Of course he makes it sound good.
Yeah, but you know what I mean though. It's like it's quite it's like a story. This song, rather than
if
like
you belt it out too much, you overdo it, and it's too much. And unless you're the best singer in the world, that will not carry off.
Yeah.
And Ewan McGregor is a good singer, but he's not the best singer in the world. So it kind of comes out. It's like Christ,
Also,
man.
the lyrics don't help me. He's like, I hope you don't mind, and I think she does, man. Like she's
I
literally
mind.
recoiling from you. Like,
And like, don't apologise. I do mind. Just be quiet. You know?
she's not recoiling. She's falling in love with him at this point. They're falling in love. That's the whole point in this bit.
I'm thinking
You're thinking of the Elephant Love medley. You've skipped ahead and you don't know what you're talking about. So.
What?
I love a wee gatekeep. Locked out the castle.
That's me out the elephant's foot.
She's down in the trunk.
So, he stops singing eventually.
Finally.
And
Paris goes back to sleep for a night. Half a night.
And then she gets a wee twinkle in her eye and she's like, I've fallen in love. I've fallen in love with a, amazing, like, talented Duke. And he's like, I'm not a Duke. And she's like, what are you talking
Titles
about?
don't matter.
And he's like, I'm a writer. And she's like, what?
She's like, a fucking writer. Are you poor? Are you poor? Are you a bohemian like me? Yeah. No. God, it's just a nightmare. Yeah, I really like that tone shift as well.
Yeah,
that made
that
me
is
laugh.
not what me and Ziedler had planned. You have foiled our wee bit that we've got going on here. I'm going to fucking freak out.
Swanee's going to go mental this bit's going on. Fuck.
My bit's foiled.
Swanee's going to be raging.
So at this point, she's like, "Oh well, the actual Duke's going to be coming. You need to go, man. Like right now, he's gonna arrive. What's gonna happen?" And then at this point, he does arrive with Ziedler in tow, and Ziedler's like, "Where have you been? What? The Duke's been waiting for you for the past hour and a bit. What the fuck have you been doing?" And she was like,
he's been nursing his wee hard on for the last 3 hours. I think he might shag me. Can you deal with this guy? That's shocking.
So
But that's what he acts like. He's just.
He's honestly
awful.
You know, like
He's maybe the worst.
It is rare that I meet a mustache that I don't like. And I saw like a tweet once that was like, "I love fairy lights. You could put fairy lights on a corpse," and I'd be like, "That's beautiful." I like that. You could put a mustache on a minger, and I'll be like, "He's stunning." This is a rare exception for me. This wee, twiddly, creepy mustache.
it's a bit of a kind of Gert Frobe moment here. I feel bad for the guy who's playing him because I'm aware that he is not the Duke, but I cannot separate them
Yes,
at all.
yes.
You know, like he is just fucking repulsive
No,
to
he's
me.
the definition of gip.com. He's fucking disgusting.
So,
but he plays it so well.
He comes in and he's just immediately fucking disgusting. He's just like dripping with cringe, like so fucking
Dripping
desperate.
with cringe. That is a great way to describe that guy. And Ewan McGregor, but in different ways.
So he's like, hello,
You're very beautiful.
you're very beautiful.
I'm sure the pleasure will be all mine. I bet it fucking will be, mate. Christ.
At some point she's like, oh, a kiss on the hand might be quite continental, and he's like, but diamonds are a girl's best friend, and you're like, shut up, man, shut
And
the
we were
fuck up.
all there. We all know the end of the song. Shut up.
So
Yeah.
Christian's still in the room, and he's hiding behind like a little tray of fruit and stuff like that, and the Duke keeps almost seeing him, and
Oh, it's
Satine's putting on the performance of a lifetime.
yeah, man. She's like simultaneously having a manic breakdown, like clearly suppressing her tuberculosis, which hasn't been diagnosed yet.
Tuberculosis.
Did I say tuberculosis? Shut up. None of that. I don't want any of your wee jokes.
Tuberculosis.
I'm gonna scream.
By the way, I don't know whether it's that we've lived through a global pandemic now, but watching this film back, I'm just like, can you all, like, especially the ones who know that she's ill or have seen her coughing up blood, and they're just like, oh no, poor Satine. I'm like, fucking take 5 steps back, man. This is a contagious airborne illness. Like,
I know.
why are you not all dead by the end?
She's given it her all, though, is what I was saying. With that in mind, her having tuberculosis, and not what did I say it right?
Tuberculosis.
Fuck me. Tuberculosis, right? Her having consumption,
TB.
consumption. She has old timey TB consumption. She's doing that. Bob tries to just the Duke and is like, "Please leave." Please leave.
She's
And Ewan
essentially
McGregor
saying
won't
like,
leave.
aye, in the background he's kind of standing there like, up, daddy shag him, but head please, daddy
Oh,
shag
I
him.
didn't mean to. He's
And
like,
she's like, he's gonna see you and he's gonna fucking freak out, and that'll be our deal. That'll be like our funding gone.
Yeah.
You need to get the fuck out.
they're talking between his legs. There's an open door that he can go to, and he's just like,
And he
fucking-
keeps almost catching him. So she, to kind of get him to focus on her instead, sings the end of your song to him, like, now you're in the world bit, right? And then he has a wee twinkle in his eye
yes.
that she had for him. So that at that point you realise that he's fallen in love with her. The Duke has fallen in love with Satine. So he's like, oh, I want to shag you right now. And she's like, no, our connection's too strong. We must wait till like later. And then she like boosts him out the room.
yeah.
And then
Just to say really quickly, from the Duke's perspective, this is a really fucking insane interaction. And he falls in love with her. And at first I was like, right. But then I was like, to be honest,
it's Nicole Kidman.
I
man.
can't blame him. Like, if I was, given everything that he knows what's going on there, and given this perspective that's given, which is well done, they craft it well, I would be absolutely won over by her in this scene. Like, I love you more than anything. Here's the most powerful, beautiful bit of poetry, but we can't be together. Ha ha ha! Crazy. And I just be like, You're a dream and a nightmare. I love you.
Also, I think this is one of those things where, like, watching this through the lens of I'm slightly older now. I feel like when I was a teenager, I definitely bought into the fact that, like, somebody could speak aloud the verse of your song and you would fall in love with them instantly.
Yeah.
And I think now I'm a bit like, no. Like, I'm not impressed by this anymore.
I need more than your songs, wee boy.
More than your song, wee boy. And it's just like, it's not that good a song. Like, do you know,
Really
it's actually an all right song, but the song actually addresses in the words that it's like not much of a song. Like the lyrics are like, I know it's quite simple, but now that it's done or whatever, because it isn't exactly poetry.
No.
Like, so this whole scene is very funny to me because it just feels as if they're stating quite like simple.
I think it works though because they've obviously just met and they're obviously just falling in love, and he's
Yeah,
just
and it's all magical realism and
yeah,
things.
he's like, I basically fallen in love with you at first sight. You know, if he was like singing like a total kind of power ballad, it would be even more obscene. So it works. You know?
And they're all stunning,
Yeah.
apart from the ick.
Apart from Mr. Ick.
Apart from wee Ratsy. So at this point, Christian's making eyes at her and is like, you better no shag him. Like, I'm no leaving unless you agree not to shag him. And then he leaves. And at this point, she's like, do you have any idea what would have happened if he had seen you? You could have ruined everything. And then she faints again because she's overcome by exhaustion because of her consumption. So she faints, and then Christian's like, oh God, I don't know what to do.
He catches her and he can't lift her. She's like so light. It's Nicole Kidman. She's tiny and she's fallen over and he's like, oh. It's like, man, anything but that. Like, even let her fall to the ground would be better than what you're doing. But he puts her in bed and then the Duke enters.
Yeah.
And it's such a funny line. He goes, foul play. It's like, I was like, okay, that's very, very funny. Foul play.
So
brilliant.
and then Satine kind of wakes up from her fainting spell, and she's like, "No, it's okay. We were just rehearsing a play." And then he's like, "Rehearsing a play inside an elephant." And then at this point, Toulouse and his posse show up, and they're like, "Yes, this is the play, the rehearsal," and they're all like pretend to set things up. So it's a ruse. So this wasn't planned, and they're all
just
there,
riffing.
and they're just riffing because. Just to kind of explain that, Toulouse and his wee posse of mates have been watching him the entire time, maybe coming on to Satine, and they probably would have stayed to watch them shag because they're all bogging.
They are bogging.
They are bogging. They're bogging wee boys. So, at this point as well, Ziedler shows up and Satine's like, the rehearsal. You're here for the rehearsal that we're about to do for Spectacular.
Jim Broadbent is so me, just like, the rehearsal, okay. So confused, led along by Sabine as she tells him a fucking huge, big old bluff.
Sabine?
Can I just say Sabine? What's happening today? Am I all right?
Sabine and fucking
Satine. Who's Sabine? But no, Satine.
But this is also where I was kind of reminded of you a little bit because I realised at this point, I'm like, they've done this big elaborate plan to get him in front of her so they can pitch their play.
Yeah.
And then they get Ziedler's like, so what's it about? And they're like, ooh, not thought that far ahead.
Yeah.
We're doing this big elaborate plot to get the funding for a play because we believe in this play so much and it's so amazing. Oh man, what's it about? Well, it's about freedom and love. And it's like, but what's the plot, man?
Yeah.
Don't know, but it's about being a bohemian. It's like, yes, Bonnie, but what's it about?
So I'm like, writer, this writer can talk to me about it. But no, he plays it so well because obviously he has no clue what's going on. He just really wants the money, and then Satine is very, very capably bringing him into that lie, as you were saying, and she's like, Yes, he will give us. He's already said about the investment, and then Jim Broadbent's just like, investment, yes, and then he gives over to them. They start spinning a yarn a bit.
So they basically perform on the spot, spectacular at this point.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing about spectacular is that it's just the entire events of the rest of the film essentially.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it's like cultural appropriation, the musical.
It
It's just a bit obscene.
Yeah, because it's like, what's he? It's
a
about
sitar player.
Yeah, he's a sitar player.
He's a penniless sitar player.
And he points at himself when he's describing this penniless. He's like, penniless sitar
Yeah.
players and another 17
skint,
again.
by the way.
This is me I'm referring to. Don't want to give the game away. Like,
Yeah.
none of these guys have any chill of any of the films
and
we've
it's
watched.
very clearly to even no one that knows what's going on that he is just saying I love Satine.
Aye.
Like, hey, this is a play. Oh, what's the play about? It's called I Love Satine. and I love Satine. You know? And it's like, oh, wow, that sounds like a really good play. That does sound like relatable. And it's like, man, you've given the plot away.
Yeah.
But again,
So-
suspension of disbelief. I enjoy that.
The plot of Spectacular is that you've got a penniless sitar player and he falls in love with an Indian courtesan, and then you've got the
What's the word they use?
no, I'm trying to think of like Toulouse's part is like a wee guy who can't no lie. What? Do you know what I'm talking about? Like his whole thing is that he can only speak the truth. That's what it says at the start of the song. He's like, I only speak the truth. Like, that's his whole thing.
Oh, that doesn't
They
really
really are
come
just-
into it more.
They
like,
are just
It comes
riffing.
into it at the end, kind of. And then the play.
I missed that.
So you've got that, but basically
They're throwing everything into the
penniless
cauldron.
sitar player is Christian. The courtesan is Satine.
Yep.
The penniless sitar player is played by the narcoleptic Argentinian.
I didn't realise was the narcoleptic Argentinian until the end of the film because he doesn't fall asleep again.
It does. He falls asleep a couple of times.
Oh, I missed that as well.
He falls asleep. That's why Christian ends up going on the stage because he misses his line because he's.
No,
and he
that's
falls
what I mean.
asleep.
At the end
And
of the
start.
play and at the start, but
In
in
between.
between that, the narcoleptic
He's not in it though.
Argentinian.
He's not in it really.
Aye,
Like,
at least
but
I'm
it's
sleeping
not-
in the background.
Why-
You showed everything else in the background. Show me the guy
but
sleeping.
There's just no point where I ever see him like falling asleep. I'm like, oh, he was the narcoleptic Argentinian all along.
Right.
Like,
So this film has got such a fucking
it's just
mad
got
energy.
a lot going on.
Right. So, this brings me into what I was going to say with this bit. So obviously, these guys are fumbling about making up a really thinly veiled I Love Satine plot, and they're going for it. And the Duke, being a fucking idiot, is starting to fall for it a little bit, but he's not solidified until Jim Broadbent's like, and then we sell it with the big musical number because it'll be exciting, and then it cuts into the so
Yeah.
exciting.
So yeah, Jim Broadbent is he is going to play the role of the Duke essentially. He
Yeah.
is the Maharaja
That's the word for it.
who
Maharaja.
wants to marry the courtesan.
Yeah.
And they kind of basically explain at the end that they're going to end up together despite the Maharaja's attempts, and they'll fall in love at the end. And then the Duke's like,
Yeah.
and in the end, she'll someone die. And there's another obscene bit that he does in the middle of this that always like gives me the ick, when like that stops him like mid play, where he's just like, it's a little bit funny, just feeling inside.
Miserable flashback to watching it last night.
Yeah, man.
And everyone's just like,
Yeah, man, that's great.
wow, man, that
Good
was,
notes.
yeah, thanks, man.
Shut up.
Yeah.
He just has a lot of lines like that. He's just disgusting.
He is minging, isn't he?
Another point for Jim Broadbent though is like when they're talking about, and there's a Maharaja character, and then he's like, I want to play him, and then Satine's like, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Like, and just so that's like so us.
Yeah,
Like, as a
Satine
group.
says, oh, Harold, no one can play him as good as you, and he goes, no one's going to.
That is so
That
me.
is so. It's just like us
Even
watching
us
something and
saying
being like,
that
this
is
is
so
you.
me
Is
is exactly that. Oh, it's sickening. Oh, God. People got to listen to us talking about, oh, that's me. Fucking, watching this film was like, oh, is that what we come across like? But
Are we as too much as Moulin Rouge?
Are we sweaty neighbours?
are we sweaty neighbours or are we big body song?
Excuse me.
Oh,
I think we've answered that.
I was hitting a few good jokes there. I had to hit a shiter one day.
So-
we're big body song apparently. What the fuck that means? But no, I want to just appreciate that whiplash we get from their ramshackle explanation to Jim Broadbent going, I know what we're gonna do, and he just sells it with, we'll have dancing women, we'll have this, and then that's so exciting. Was it? Da 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 da. Is that's that
So
song?
exciting, the audience will stop and cheer.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
And then again, it's just the perfect kind
Do
of.
you want me to sing the entire thing? Because
No.
I can and I will.
We can include it over this bit. If you sing it quietly over this next bit, that'd be really, really funny.
Okay. Exciting the audience will stop and cheer.
Oh,
Well, you need to talk
Yeah, so that's what I was doing.
Otherwise, I'm just going to be saying it to myself, which again I will do.
Yeah, do it. Go. So I really enjoy the fact that he is like just clearly been watching them like struggle to get this together. He's like, I know how to do it. Like the master liar that he is, like the fucking great orchestrator of fucking whimsy and plotting. He's like, I have got this Duke. We are going to sell this to him with what we do best at the Moulin Rouge, which is a big dance number. It's a great song, like Claude just sang there for you all.
Thank you very
Hope
much.
that wasn't overwhelming and disgusting to listen to. Abby is not having a good time right now.
I don't know how to feel about that.
Yeah, it's like watching your two close pals who you can rely on not to be that cringe be really fucking cringe.
Yeah, I was like, neither of yous are me. What's going on? Also, I've drank far too much coffee today and I might agree.
So, the Duke says at the end, you know, generally I like it. So they've sold it. They're like, yay, we're going to do it. So they go, and they all go get pissed at the flat.
Yeah,
And
because he says, did you just quote what he said there?
generally I like it.
Yeah, that's, okay, sorry. I was too busy looking at my notes for that. That is exactly how I would sum up the film.
Generally, I
I
like
like it. And I think that's very, very fair. And when I heard him say that, I was like, yes, I do like this now. So at this point in the film, you'll be happy to know I was really starting to come aboard with, you know what? This is actually pretty good. I quite like
Yay.
this is fun.
I'm along for the ride.
Aye. It's a silly jukebox pantomime. For context, pantomime is just that. It's just singing silly songs on stage. Maybe didn't do
And also,
that.
it feels especially like a pantomime to me because of Ewan's accent.
Yes.
It's like, I think that's why,
Yeah.
especially, I was like,
You've
we've
got
all
the
these-
wooden best boy in the main cast, which every good pantomime has.
Yeah, so 'cause
And everyone
like,
else stealing the
is
show.
The slightly, like, you feel like he would have, like, be like a Ken doll down there,
Yes.
male lead. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Look, just for context, pantomimes are just like shows in Scotland that are just loads of like pop songs with a very broad, silly
Yeah, for our
plotline.
national audience. They really appreciate
But
that.
I don't know. Just some people don't know. I'll have don't know. Go.
Maybe one day, man. Maybe one day that'll be apt for someone when we get big. So the Duke's like, yeah, I like it. And then they go get pished. So they're all drinking absinthe. And then Kylie Minogue makes
I was
a
going to say
feature.
that is Kylie Minogue, isn't it?
Aye, it's Kylie Minogue.
Playing the absinthe fairy and
Aye.
the most surreal 20 fucking green fairies
Honestly,
flying at me.
maybe Rogues Gallery just for being Kylie Minogue in this film.
Kind of like a similar Red Hot Chili Surfer type of
Yeah.
vibe. Like, what are you doing here?
And being the embodiment of alcoholism, apparently. What is a bigger villain than that?
And on this very special episode of the Sorry I Don't podcast, we're
Don't
going to
drink
cover...
absinthe.
Yeah, so she's like singing along to the Sound of Music and just, why is Kylie here? And then
Who invited Kylie?
Kylie. And then they're all getting pissed. And then there's this really funny bit where
We might be about to say the same thing.
I would be obscene if we were. You've got Toulouse and he's sitting on the balcony at the top of the flat, sitting drinking and singing to himself and smoking. And I was just thinking about you. Just having a wee sad Greek to himself while he's singing and drinking on the balcony.
This is John Leguizamo.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
I think that's maybe, honestly, because I know this film so much, I didn't make that many notes like whilst I was watching it. I think that might have been the sole note I made. I was like, oh, Abby.
Well, I feel thoroughly buoyed.
No, you
By
definitely
that-
buoyed yourself on the balcony all last summer.
Thanks.
Why is hers funny and mine is evil?
Blasting love hearts. Fucking green. Into a Budweiser.
To be fair, I was doing the same, but I was just in my room pretending not to be green.
Oh, fuck
No.
me, man. Rough times. But no, what I was gonna say is, in between these two scenes, maybe, I mean, I don't know, I don't have like an exact timestamp for this note, but in between that scene and the elephant finishing and then whatever happens next, I would have missed this if I didn't have subtitles on when I was watching the film. But we like whip pan across like a setting, and this guy goes, "You're a beautiful woman. I love sex."
What?
That's the narcoleptic Argentinian.
What? See what I mean? Like, I just didn't realise he felt like so many
love
different
sex.
characters in this. I was like, what? Was that ad-libbed? Did someone write that? Like,
Yeah.
how did that end
Who's
up
he
in
talking?
there?
I think, is he talking to Kylie?
No, he's talking to a woman, but it's not Kylie.
Or
like,
could be. Is it his absinthe? Is he in love with the? Oh, don't. No, let's film.
Are you reading like into the fact that maybe he's no narcoleptic, he's just an alcoholic?
Aye, maybe. No, I don't know. Like, this film, if it's not coming across from what we're saying here, this film is an absolute fucking ride. It's just going, full stop. What? A roller coaster ride, Abigail. Fucking, it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
As I said to you, you asked me, hey, how did you find the film? And I just went, it's a bit much, eh? And you're like, yeah, well, it's a drama, it's a play, it's a bit of writing. I was like, no, I just mean it's a fucking lot, man.
yeah, I love the film.
Yeah,
It's
it's just because you only said it's a bit much, and I was like, excuse me, I'm not having this tonight. I'm not having you just being like, it's exciting, it's not cool. Oh, it's too many musical numbers. Oh, it's got music in it. Nobody told me this was gonna be a musical. I could not fucking deal with it. I was actually gonna fucking rip the set apart, man. I was gonna freak the fuck out.
No, to be fair, I had that reaction the first time I watched it. I was like, this is a musical. No wonder you guys are singing.
Yeah, is this just what you do? You watch films for the first time and you decide from the outset what the plot's going to be and what kind of film it's going to be without actually checking, anything, and then you're like, oh, this is a musical? Oh, this has got surfers in it? What's this about? Like, without looking at anything?
Yes. Yes. That is how I do it.
That's how I roll. So, Christian leaves and he goes to meet Satine again, and she's basically like, look, I don't love you, man. It was all an act. I thought you were the Duke. I was just trying to seduce you, and it worked. But now I don't need to anymore because you're just a writer. You're not the Duke, and you're not the guy I was going after. And he's like, oh, but love is a many splendid thing. Love lifts us up where we belong. All you need is love. And
You're
she's
making
like,
him too posh.
And
He's
she's
like,
like, oh, Denny.
And she's like, oh, Denny.
Shut up,
Because
man.
he's not doing it in that way. He's like, oh, sorry, I didn't mean it. I just, I saw your window was open and I came in, and I just, love is really good and powerful and I love you. And it's like, fucking wind it in, man. Again, wee Scottish guy doing his fucking...
Grado.
He is Grado. Oh, so funny.
That's my wee boy said.
To quote the wee boy at the pantomime, when Grado sprayed the audience with a water bottle, that's bogging. Because that happened at our pantomime.
So, they do another musical number. It's called the Elephant Love Medley. It's a medley of different love songs, which kind of concludes with We Can Be Heroes by David Bowie. It's got loads of songs in it though. I Will Always Love You by Whitney Houston. I'm trying to think of the other ones in it. It's hard when you're not.
Sometimes it feels like a practical joke.
Yeah.
That they're just constantly challenging Ewan McGregor. Like, you kind of like, he starts off with every sort of snippet of a new song and you're like, okay, and then he sort of finds his feet and then they're like, and up a key.
No.
You can see him wincing as he tries to like make the notes.
You're so right. Do you know what it is? It's literally... He's given a karaoke gauntlet in this film. It's like karaoke gauntlet on a Friday night in Glasgow, and he's at Cosmopol, fucking getting at his best. Like, right, we've got 16 songs lined up, and each is a key higher, different tempo, and you got to be on the ball.
He's doing Love on Top by Beyonce by himself.
He is. He's doing everything by himself.
So, essentially, the point of this musical number is that he's like, we'll fall in love, I'll look after you, we'll be amazing together. And she's like, we can, I've got to be with the Duke, I've got to get this funding, like, that's what's important. And he's like, no, you're my love, like, I'm not trying to pay for a service from you. I want to be with you.
All you need
and she's
is
like,
love.
And she's like, oh, I want to, but I can't, but I want to. And eventually, in the end, she's like, okay, yeah, I'll let's go out in secret. And they have a wee kiss in the Paris sky. They're like floating about.
Again, the Parisian, like, fucking, someone on the top floor is like, I'm trying to fucking sleep. Can we stop making this a musical city? We're in the grips of revolution.
So, now we've went on and they're kind of seeing each other behind the Duke's back. They're not meant to be. The Duke keeps making attempts to have these nights with Satine so that they can kind of have sex for the first time. And she's always like, no, I really need to get on this rehearsal, man. Like, really important.
What's worse, because he's actually like drawn up a contract with Jim Broadbent, is he not?
Of course, of course.
No, it's just, I just remember it because I just really was like, oh, that is a fucking shite situation. Because he's like, yes, I will, not only will I have rights to the all performances and money and revenue, I will also have the rights and the deed to the Moulin Rouge, and I will also, can I basically put her into slavery for my...
Yeah, so essentially the deal is like, you're going to have to give me the deed to the Moulin Rouge, and that's my insurance policy that I will get to basically sleep with Satine and no one else will ever again. She's now mine.
It's pretty fucking
so a
gross.
Bit rancid, to be honest. It's not all right.
Mr.
Sorry,
Duke.
I fucking don't.
Yeah.
But she kind of makes this agreement with him where she's like, I don't think we should sleep with each other until opening night, to put off like sleeping with him for as long as possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
So she still plans on doing it at some point, but she's like, opening night, yeah, but during the rehearsal process, like I'm doing my work, like need to focus on the rehearsals and like, doing edits with the writer and stuff like that. So that's what I need to focus on. But since that's done, I'm all yours, man.
And isn't he's like, yes, you are really hard at work. You're a hard worker and shit like that, or just has this really fucking...
Aye, that's what the Duke says. You're a hard worker.
Like literally, you're joking, but aye, that's exactly what he's doing though.
So they're kind of sleeping with each other behind the Duke's back. It's all very romantic, all very sweet. They're all hanging out with the Bohemians, living the life that Christian dreamed of. He's like, yes, this is it. I'm writing in Paris. I've got this beautiful girlfriend. This is class. Loving it. But
And we obviously know where that goes, because as we should say, obviously we know she dies, but another thing we need to point out is at the very start, the whole place is a ruin. The Moulin Rouge is a ruin.
yeah,
So it's like,
what's happened?
yeah, this is not going to work out, you know?
Yeah. So the Duke is getting kind of like more and more frustrated. There's a hilarious bit where they're like having a wee kind of picnic and Christian's come along for some reason and he's like just wandering off to the side and going like, hey darling, look, a frog.
God.
He's just
Like,
buoying himself left, right and centre.
And they're
Well,
like mid-stripping off.
So someone described him earlier on as a very strange enchanted boy, and that is exactly what he is. He is just
The Duke?
No, Christian. Talk about Christian.
Right, yeah.
a very strange enchanted boy. What, like the lyrics to the
Nature
song?
Boy.
What song?
Nature Boy,
Is that an actual song?
which is the
Yeah.
opening to the Moulin Rouge.
yeah.
That's the opening song.
Yeah, Nature Boy
Right,
by
I, was
David
just,
Bowie.
I had it in my notes and I was just like, that sums him up so well. A very strange enchanted boy. And then when I said it out loud there, I went, oh, they've got me. That's really gross that I just said that. I was like, yeah, he is that.
I love how you were trying to pass that off as your own judgment as well when it's
No,
literally
no.
the opening song.
No, I was quoting it. I just
I've
didn't,
often been
Aye.
quoted.
I've often been quoting it. I just didn't
From
realise
the
it was
lyrics
I didn't
to a
actually,
song in the film.
It's because someone said it as a line of dialogue and I didn't realise it was actually a song as well because I'm like that. I can't help it.
But he feels like he should be in a production of like The Nutcracker. Like he's so a wee shiny face and just is like it's so buoyed. But like I don't
Trying
know.
his best.
He is.
So,
we Christian.
The Duke is getting kind of increasingly frustrated. And he's like, I want to meet Satine tonight. Like, this is happening. You know, I've been waiting too long. She's spending way too much time with this writer. And Zidler was like, no problem, I'll get it sorted. So she says to Christian, like, I need to go and spend the night with the Duke. And he's like, I'm really not into this, man. And she's like, it's my job, gotta do it. And then she has another fainting spell. So the Duke's waiting for her. And Christian's like racked with jealousy because he thinks that she's away to sleep with him. And the Duke's freaking out and he's like threatening to leave. So Zidler decides to solve this dilemma by doing a musical number with him where he says that Satine's confessing, which is why she can't attend the chamber tonight to fucking hang out. And he's like, what, she's confessing? Yeah, she's confessing all of her sins that she's done throughout her life. She wants to like be pure when she eventually gets to be with you again, like a virgin. And then it breaks into Like a Virgin by Madonna, but sung by Jim Broadbent and Wee Ratsy. It's shocking.
It's so much. I was laughing at how much it was, but I was also like, what is the tone?
I love this bit. It's fucking ridiculous.
It is amazing, and it is ridiculous, and it is a bit amazing. But it does just make me think, what must it be like to hang out with Baz Luhrmann and hear him talk about making a film? So yeah, it'll be really, 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 really serious, and then we're gonna be singing like a fucking really good pop song, and then it's gonna be what? And it's gonna be quiet and sad and soulful. It's just like, well, man, pick a lane. But you know, sometimes it works.
You've got Jim Broadbent cutting about dressed like a nun, whilst like the Duke and a bunch of butlers are like ballet dancing over to him while he's running away screaming. It's fucking obscene.
Yeah, and yet in our Lost episode, you did not like it when Rowan Atkinson was dressed as a nun.
I don't like when Rowan Atkinson does anything ever. I've made this very clear throughout my entire friendship with you and my entire life.
This again narrows down what this secret episode
Even
is.
as a wee guy watching Mr. Bean the cartoon, I was like, this is fucking gash. No! Stop it!
I love Mr. Bean.
No! No one does. Enough.
A lot of people do.
They're wrong.
Okay.
He's not in the Moulin Rouge.
We're getting the energy of last week. This is why last week's episode didn't work, because Club and I wanted to fucking kill each
For
other.
future, we just need to avoid anything that has even like a breath of Rowan Atkinson.
What did I say? You were like, oh, Mr. Bean movie, and I was like, I don't think I can do that. I think I will get like literally so incensed that it won't even be funny. I'll just be sitting there like, fucking Rowan Atkinson.
I'd love to do a Mr. Bean movie.
Well, we're not gonna do that.
We'd have to like restrain Claude to the chair.
So continuing.
When this is finished, she goes to see. At this point, she's basically diagnosed with consumption. They know that that's what's wrong at this point. And she goes away to Christian. She's like, sorry, and he's like, where were you last night? What were you doing? And she was like, I was ill. And he's like, aye, right. And she was like, I fucking was. Like, you're shocking.
I love that as a trope though. Like, I have consumption, but other than that, you look absolutely fine, act totally fine until you have your little spells, which is not how a debilitating, what's the word for it? A degenerative disease of your breathing.
Yeah, I mean
works.
the symptoms that Satine experiences before she like absolutely dies are fainting very prettily every now and again, coughing up blood about twice,
Speckles.
The occasional bit of sweat when it suits her, and then like not being
When
able
the
to
lighting's
belt
right.
the highest notes as much when she can't be arsed.
This film makes you want to be a prostitute and have consumption.
Put that in the tagline.
And not many films can say the same. It made me want that at age 15.
That was a real emo phase, wasn't it?
Aye.
I want to be a whore and I want to be dying. Great. Fuck me, Claude.
It's essentially the lyrics to every My Chemical Romance song. So you can see where the little sort of links are starting to link up in our personalities and interests.
That's so funny.
Basically, Satine is like, look, we need to end it. The Duke's going to end up catching us. This is getting too risky, and it's ruining the production. We're not focused enough.
So she's told Christian that she's dying.
No. She doesn't know she's dying.
She doesn't know.
She doesn't know.
Yeah, because it's Jim Broadbent that's getting all the stuff from the doctor. Because he later tells her, "Yeah, you're right. Sorry."
That's okay. So basically, Christian's like, not to worry, my love. I've wrote you a song, and every time
Not to worry, my lady. Here is a poem from my heart. Fucking stop it, man.
He also has some of the worst outfits that anyone in this film wears. He can't remember that cardigan tied around his neck and this weird little fedora, and he's just like, I'm gonna write you a song.
Do you know what's shocking? When they're like lying in bed together, and Satine's just like wrapped up in a sheet, but clearly otherwise naked. And she looks like really hot and kind of like just woke up, and he's like sitting in bed with a hat on and suspenders but no t-shirt on.
He looks like he looks like an extra from fucking what's it? A Clockwork Orange.
Full Monty.
Full Monty, yeah. It's just if you're saying someone's got a bad outfit and his outfit's too much in a Baz Luhrmann film, you know it's something shocking.
The thing is as well, it's just like, man, have another move. Like, I need to get this woman to fall in love with me. I don't know, I'll sing a slightly alright song, and then it's like at every turn he's like, I'm going to fix this with the power of music, and it's like, maybe no.
He's the epitome of a nice guy, isn't he? And like,
yeah, but he actually is a nice guy. Although,
Well,
no, he has a moment.
Yeah, he has a moment. He falters. So He sings "Come What May" to her.
Which actually is a great song, not gonna lie.
It's an excellent song.
Who's it by again?
So,
It's
an original.
It's an original. It's technically not an original. So it probably would have won Best Original Song at the Oscars, but it was actually intended for Romeo and Juliet, so they couldn't put it through as a Best Original Song for Moulin Rouge. Yeah, so it was meant to be in Romeo and Juliet, but it ended up being in Moulin Rouge.
It fits this song. It fits this film
Way
so
better.
much better than
Yeah.
it would have fit in Romeo and Juliet.
Did they have songs in Romeo and Juliet?
That's what I was thinking.
It's got the Romeo and Juliet soundtrack is one of my favorite albums of all time.
Yeah, I just thought it was a soundtrack.
It's not. Yeah, it's a soundtrack.
Oh, right,
it's
so
not.
it's not. Right,
but-
sorry. I was going to say it's not a musical because I was
But
like, I missed that.
so it's a soundtrack, but like there are songs created. Like none of the characters sing in it, but like in the same way that there's like mashups of different songs. So like there's a cover of "When Doves Cry" by Prince, but it's
Yes.
made for that film. Like, and also Baz Luhrmann has a spoken word poem, which is in it, which is class.
No, it's so interesting because obviously I'm pretty sure that Moulin Rouge, Romeo and Juliet, and the film that came before it are referred to as the Red
Strictly
Curtain.
Ballroom, yeah.
They're called the Red Curtain trilogy, mostly because of that trilogy box set of DVDs you could get of the Red Curtains with those 3 films in it. I just think it's really interesting that you're saying that about. Because when I heard that, I was like, oh, well, that doesn't make sense. There's a lot of similarities between these films and projects, but it's really cool that you're saying that. Obviously, that song that would have probably won or been nominated for that Oscar was actually from something else. So you can just kind of see. Again, it's interesting to see that maturation of a director in that little contained period of time. Because obviously, he goes on to do huge musical things where he's infusing pop songs into big grand stories like Gatsby and Elvis and stuff like that. So it's just really cool to see that little transition. So yeah, I like that.
I love "Come What May." Again, I used to sing it with Lizzie all the time, and I'd be like, "I'll be Satine."
Yeah, of course you did.
I did it in choir actually as well. And I was like
God.
so excited. See the feeling you would get when like a song, like, because you're always like, what's it going to be? What we're going to do next? We spent weeks singing it, and I remember it was "Come What May," and I was just like, as if I was the first person to ever watch Moulin Rouge, and I was the biggest fan in the world. No one. I was like, this is my moment. It was just like. Everyone likes Moulin Rouge, man, when you're a 15-year-old girl, but I was really, really, like, it was the most excited I'd ever been.
So, they sing that to each other, and they're like, yeah, whenever you hear this song, it means that, you know in your head, no matter what's actually happened on the outside, that we love each other. That's the
So this
intention
is
of the song.
Satine and Christian talking to each other.
Yeah.
So they implant that secret song.
Aye, it's no fucking Ziedler and the Duke, man.
I'm just clarifying more for the. I know. I was just more clarifying just because we'd obviously went off a little bit in tangent there. Just to clarify.
Yeah. So that's they kind of move on from
Although,
that.
sorry, if it was Ziedler and the Duke singing a love song to each other, like, hey, when we want to crack out our love, we'll sing. That would be a better film. If you want to crack out our love, sing me a song, doll. That would have been the film that I would have made.
This is the film that Ewan McGregor would have been in.
So, then they're kind of back in the what do you call it, the theatre, and they're rehearsing and stuff like that, and the Duke's raging again, and Ziedler essentially sees I forgot to mention Ziedler's now seen Satine and Christian together,
Yes.
which is what led Satine to go and kind of try to break up with Christian.
Yeah, because he's like, you need to.
Yeah, because she's like, look, Ziedler knows now. Everybody knows we need to break up, and then he's like, no, I've got this song. So Ziedler knows at this point.
That's his entire
everything. Like,
oh no! I've actually got a song for that.
Very curious that you have that emotion because I have it covered by a song.
The thing is as well, like, see if I was watching this for the first time last night. Like, this never occurred to me when I did genuinely watch the film for the first time. But see, when she dies, there's like a very real part of me that could have gone, oh my god, is he going to try and like
sing to her
bring
to
her
bring her back to life?
with a song? Like,
Yeah, I thought he was going to. I thought we might have been singing Evanescence at that point. Terrible joke. Thank you for laughing.
Arms of the Angel.
I mean, bring me back to life.
Aye, I was just making another joke. Am I not allowed to make mine now?
Sorry. I thought. Well, that phone drop was the perfect fucking end to that.
or just shut up and dance with me.
My apologies. I thought you were correct. I thought.
The joke was that Arms of the Angel is a song that is used in RSPCA adverts in America for like sad dying dogs and that. So it would be funny if he had sang that to her and then she'd come back to life.
Sorry,
That was my wee bit.
Yeah, no, and that's very funny. But I
And
thought,
you're like,
Well,
Wait,
actually,
no, but
I meant Evanescence.
no, but I thought
Bring me to life because it's bringing her to life.
I thought you were meaning that was the name of an Evanescence song. And I
It
was
does sound like one.
not that one. That was basically what I was doing. I was a fucking idiot. What were you going to say,
Have
Abby?
you seen Rent?
What a fucking... That is not what I thought you were going to say.
Hey, neither did I. I'm thrown for a loop. Why?
That happens in Rent. Somebody dies and they get brought back to life by
the
a
power
song.
Yeah, Rent's shocking.
The whole way through the film, he's trying to write a song for this girl and he can never quite find the right words. And then she dies and then he sings her the song and she comes back to life.
Rent's bad, and it'd be really funny to do, but then we'd have to talk about AIDS a lot, and it's maybe a bit sad.
I've never seen, I never have seen the musical, but the film version is,
Yes.
there's good bits and there's some
Rosario Dawson's
bits.
Anyway,
See-
off topic.
My two favourite films are musicals, technically, but like then I'd like watch bits of things like Rent, and I'm like, fuck me, I fucking hate
There are
musicals.
bits of Rent that I think are amazing, and then sometimes all together, I'm like,
Yeah, with a lot of musicals, I'm kind of like, just make them just 25 minutes, and that'll be good. 25 minutes of content. Rest of it, fuck
Can you
off.
imagine saying that to a massive musical fan? Like, just cut the entire performance by an hour and a half, and it'll
Aye, I
be good.
would. Aye, just give me the songs.
So, now, obviously the Duke knows. Ziedler knows. They've kind of established that they're going to be together no matter what. And then they're at the final rehearsal of Spectacular. And then we get aforementioned fucking Nini shows up, and she goes to the Duke and she's like, why... I've got a question. Why the fuck would the courtesan go with the penniless writer? Oh, it's a guitar player. So she gives the game away. And at this point, for some reason, that is the point where the Duke's like, I've had it. I've realised what's going on. Not all the other hints. Not the fact that like every single time he sees his missus, she's just been hanging out with the writer and she's like covered in lipstick. Like
Yeah,
that's not giving him any hints.
Yeah, and or the fact that it's called Spectacular, aka or also known as How I Fell in Love with Sabine, and here's how I'll do it. That's not Sabine. Who is Sabine? Sabine is a character in something else, and it's just in my head.
In your mind.
Right?
aye.
Can we redo that bit because that's annoyed me?
No.
Fuck it. No. Yes, it is. It's
Hilarious
just,
also the
that you
fact
keep
that
calling
he-
her Sabine.
walked in on her, putting her to bed. Like he
Aye.
walked in.
Foul
like,
play. Yeah.
Like it's not even that he's discovered anything. It's been happening in front of him, and he's been watching it and also funding a musical about it.
I think the Duke might be the saddest character in this.
It,
I'm joking. I'm taking the piss.
So Nini has revealed all to the Duke, and he's like twitching in his seat. He's like, I don't like this ending, and they're like,
He says that. And it's like, right, man.
they've just finished. It's their last rehearsal. It's going on tomorrow night. Like that's it, or that night or something. Like there's no more. And he's like, I don't like this ending. And they're like, well, what do you want us to do about it? And he's just like, I think the Maharaja should end up with a courtesan, because why wouldn't she want to go out with him? Because he's got loads of money and he's really hot, right?
Oh my
Isn't he?
God. The level of cope coming from this guy is unbelievable.
And then Christian is like, because she doesn't love you, and then he fucks it all as well. Just like, again, having a wee 17 again moment, just kind of keep his fucking mouth shut.
Oh, and this is when he's got the cardigan on as well. He cannot have that much aggression about anything when you're wearing a fucking cardigan around your neck. It doesn't, you can't pull it off.
It's just really mortifying whenever Ewan McGregor's trying to exhibit any kind of aggression in it. Whenever he's trying to be Billy Big Boss, it's just like, man, chill out. You're boiling yourself so hard. He's like, because she doesn't love him. She doesn't love him.
Him, me, no love. Right, let's go
Can
from...
I say about this last rehearsal as well? What really stresses me out is the fact that like they keep referring to the fact that it's the last rehearsal. I'm like, they're rehearsing in a building site at the minute. Like the wee part of me that's done like plays and things like that is like having heart palpitations watching this. I'm like, what do they mean it's going on tomorrow? They're never going to be able to fix this in time. And then this like sort of benefactor character is like just like demanding last minute changes. And it reminded me of the time me and Swanee were Macbeth and Lady Macbeth. And I made a comment about how the throne was like an old dinner chair stapled to a piece of plywood.
Look, we did our best in that.
That was a bit. I was like, we didn't get to see it until like the day before the show, and we kept being told it was going to be a throne, and I was like, a bit shocking. And I offhandedly made a comment to Swanee about how it should have been like spray painted gold or like, decoupaged gold with bits of tissue paper. And Swanee was like, I'll drive you to Hobbycraft in the morning if you decoupage that chair gold. And like this entire massive throne thing. And I was like, nah, man, I don't have time for that. I'm going on as Lady Macbeth tomorrow. And he was like, aye, but the rehearsal doesn't start till 11 o'clock in the morning. I can get up at 6. I'll come get you. And I was like, absolutely not. And so he was just like marching about demanding these big production changes the whole of the day before the show. And it's like, that ship has sailed, man.
I was trying my hardest to make that work.
You do say like, oh, what are they going to do? It's a construction site, but like, isn't that what we're used to? Whenever we would do plays, it was like, had to fucking like by foot carry all of our props and set and fucking shite down from a building that was like a 20-minute walk away. Like we're
down a hill
over like a pedestrian, like a very highly pedestrianised bridge, carrying the same green couch
next to a lock.
down through a woods, past the spooky castle,
just to get it to where the stage was every single time, and then we would have to put it back at the end of it all. If you've hit
the roundabout, you've gone too far. Sort of
and no matter what time period anything was set in, that green couch was in everything.
That fucking green couch. Oh.
So, he's like, I want to change the ending, and Ziedler's trying to kind of placate him, but look, man, we can't, it's too late. And he's like, I'm paying for this. I don't give a fuck. You're gonna change it. I'm gonna win. And then Satine manages to sort the whole situation out because she is just so class. And she's like, look, yous are all being horrible to the Duke. He's put so much money and time into this. We're gonna go and have dinner tonight, and yous can go and deal with the play. So she's like, I'll meet you tonight in the kind of dark spooky chamber upstairs. So that's what happens. She decides that she's going to go, and Christian's like, I don't want you to, please. And she's like, mate, there's going to be no play if you don't shut up.
Yeah. This is what, as well, he's like, I don't want you to, I'm going to be jealous. And she was like, you said that you weren't going to be jealous. And he's like, but I am jealous. I changed your mind. And she's like, okay, well, what about the song that you came up with? And he's like, I don't want your fucking song.
You're like, the fucking cheek of you to refuse anyone a song. What the fuck?
She's like, but you made up this song that was going to cure all the problems. And he was like, I didn't even mean it, but I don't want it.
But those problems.
I was just meant to, like, it was just meant to be cute. I was
just flirting. I just want my hole.
And she's just like, man, I've got 2 jobs, and that's to, like, fuck folk and be in this play, and you're gonna completely ruin both of them. Yeah. Aye, so Gunny, just calm down. Come what may. And he's like, no, I'm just too jealous, man.
Oh my god, he's so fucking lame. He's so like, no, but it's only special when I start it. It's not special. It's not special when you do it. It's like that guy. It's like that TikTok trend of that guy being like the obnoxious boyfriend. That's literally what he's like in this.
He's like, wait, but only you're meant to be emotionally manipulated by the power of song, not me.
So, you've got now we kind of move into. They're all kind of just sitting in the Moulin Rouge, essentially waiting to see what happens if the Duke's going to be like, cancel the play, it's no happening, or if Satine's going to sort it out. So they're all just kind of sitting waiting there. They're all sitting drinking and stuff like that. And then the narcoleptic Argentinian is like, you can't get jealous, man. You can't go out with somebody whose job it is to have sex with other folk and then get jealous, because you're just going to end up getting hurt. That's the whole point. And then they kind of go into one of my favourite musical renditions of this film, El Tango de Roxanne. It's Roxanne by the Police, but tango version. It's amazing.
It's so
pretty
good.
good.
It's inspired. It's brilliant.
So class. I listen to it all the time.
This is the sexiest he is in this whole film.
Yeah. Ewan McGregor.
Oh, you thought he was sexy in it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I can see that.
Also, I've showed you this before, but there's a really great, when they finally allowed music at the Winter Olympics, there's a really, really great ice skating routine to this.
Yeah, it's so
I watch
good,
it all
man.
the time. It's so good. That was all. That's all I'm going to say. I recommend to anyone, you need to go and watch the
So
Tango with the Roxanne.
impassioned.
Oh, it's so good.
So
It was
sexy.
made to be skated to. It's so good.
Do you guys prefer this song to the opening number in the Moulin Rouge?
What's the opening number?
Like the big
Which
one?
one?
No, like the big medley that leads us all in with.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, Spectacular.
Yeah. Well, no, is that what it's called? Is that what the opening numbers when Jim Broadbent we first see him?
What,
and stuff?
when we're in the elephant and then they're pitching the plane?
No,
No,
Nirvana.
the very opening of the.
Oh, yeah, no, I definitely prefer El Tango
This
de
is
Oh,
Rosa.
amazing.
really?
This is
I much
amazing.
prefer the first one.
This kind of feels like the climax of the film to me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought
I
it
know,
was.
I know that it's not obviously because things get even more dramatic and sort of strained and etc. And we're also not at the end of the film, but like this feels like the emotional climax of the film in a lot of ways. When that kind of like. I don't know what animal that is, what instrument that is. Is it a violin where like it starts to like get really sort of like
Yeah, loads of drums, loads of violin. You've got like
Really
people kind of lamenting in the background.
building? We're cutting between different scenes. There's lots of stuff happening.
You've got the narcoleptic Argentinian doing like a kind of tango rendition of like just jealousy with Nini, who's fucked the entire thing. And then you're like cutting from that to the Duke and Satine. And
it's a great number. I just really like the first one more. I just want
Yeah.
to see your opinions on that.
Christian's just cutting about with his face tripping him, but like in a sexy way.
Yeah, it's
yeah,
finally
and
sexy.
he's singing his own things about feeling jealous and how he can't stand it and
It's
stuff
very
like that.
Bet on it. That's how I have my Bet on it musical.
Yeah, you know
I
it
actually
is.
thought about that as I was watching it last night. I was like, this is giving me Bet on it vibes.
What can I say? Mini Baz Luhrmann. No.
Well, how would you want to be mini Baz Luhrmann?
I don't want to be Big Baz Luhrmann. Big Baz. Big Bazzy. No. Wee Baz. Aye, wee Baz. No, that's also kind of shocking. I don't want to be any of him.
I don't want to be any of him.
Aye.
So basically the scene, very dramatic and stuff like that, it culminates in Christian walks outside the Moulin Rouge after having watched all this kind of jazz routine, tango scene happening, and then Satine sees him from the balcony, so she's been kind of like going along with the Duke at this point, and then as soon as she sees Christian, she's like, I can't go through with this, like I don't want to have sex with the Duke, I love him.
Yeah.
And then basically the Duke tries to force himself on her, and then one of the kind of can dancers from the club goes and saves her. So and she escapes from the chamber.
Yeah, I was genuinely a bit like, oh, we about to go here? Fucking hope not.
Yeah.
Glad that happens. And like, she gets rescued. The
But also,
Duke, man.
the guy that rescues her, he's the same one that caught her when she fell off the swing at the beginning.
Oh,
like
really?
he's just
He's just
always
always there
showing
for
up
her.
and being the best. Like
Yeah.
actually,
a good guy protecting her.
He's kind of like the Mr. Andrews from Titanic. I just whenever I see him on screen, I feel a little bit reassured. I'm just
Yeah.
like,
It's
okay,
gonna be okay.
this guy's all right.
the
And
anti-rogue.
yeah, he's the anti-rogue.
Aye. So then she goes back to the flat. She goes to see Christian and she's like, I couldn't go through with it. I love you too much. I don't want to pretend anymore. I just want to get away from here. And he's like, we'll do that then. We'll go. We'll just escape. Fuck it. It doesn't matter. And she's like, what about the plane? And he's like, I don't care about the plane. I care about you. We're going to run away and we're going to be totally fine. So that's what they decide to do. So Satine goes back to her chambers and she starts to pack things, and Ziedler walks in on her packing things, and he's just like, what are you doing, man? Like, come on, we've got the club, the funding. And she's like, I don't care. I want to be away from you. I want to be away from all this. I want to be away from the Moulin Rouge. And then he's like, you're dying. You're dying.
He's like, you can't do that though, because you didn't have a life to go to.
You're
It's
dying.
over. Christ.
So she doesn't know she's dying, and he's like, yep, doctor said you're dying. And she's like, oh fuck, that makes sense. So
I
essentially,
thought I just had the vapors. No. That's a thing.
what's the vapors?
It's like a old-timey disease that people would say or I guess it's more for being a bit mad.
Yeah, my gran says when someone's stressing her out that it's gain or the vapours.
I've never heard
I
that
don't
before.
know, but
So
it is kind of comical though, because she's framed in this doorway. She's like hunched over and she's like coughing blood and like, and he's like, "You're dying," and she's like,
Yeah, no shit.
"Oh, aye." Wait a second.
that's all makes sense. What were you gonna say?
I am kind of like surprised at how much, like, everyone in this film is so charmingly oblivious. Like, the Duke's not got a clue what's going on. Christian's not got a clue what's going on.
Yeah.
I get that, like, medicine wasn't quite as advanced, but I feel as if you're fainting all the time and coughing up blood and, you know,
late
dying.
1800s.
And folk around you have consumption.
Yeah,
Or
you know
it's a
what it
thing.
is.
It's a big thing. It wasn't like, you know, a kind of
It's not a niche
a
disease.
secret thing. Aye.
It's not like, oh, you're the first case in Paris.
Mm-hmm.
You're patient 0 in Paris for consumption. No, you're patient fucking 3,000, whatever the
Because
fuck.
maybe it's like she's fallen in love, so she's in denial and all her dreams could possibly come true or whatever.
Like, it's just-
I don't know. But it feels as if she might have clocked on before now.
Aye.
Like, you're literally coughing up blood. But
To
then
be fair, everybody is telling her that she's okay as well. We have to
Yeah.
remember that. Because obviously they need her to go on and perform. They're not going to tell her that she's dying because they're like, well, you need to go and nail this performance so that we get the funding and all this kind of thing. So
It's
nobody's
just-
telling her this point. It's not become at a point where it would be appropriate to tell her for everybody else's game.
It's just fucking Jim Broadbent being Big Daddy Gaslight her. It's no alright.
Big Daddy Gaslighter.
Big Daddy Gaslight to her.
Oh,
Aye,
yeah, that was...
Thank you for clarifying. That's so much better.
Like, it is.
The problem I had was with the end of that sentence. No, Big Daddy Gaslight.
He's in my own personal rogues gallery. I met him once.
So,
The thing is, like, to be fair, see, Satine riddled with consumption looks better than me on my best day. If I was still getting up every morning looking in the mirror and being that stunning, I would be like, there's no way I'm dying.
belting out fucking Diamonds Are Girl's best friend, killing it every single time. You're like, I'm
I'm the prime of my life.
I'm killing
I
something.
am the picture of health.
So, so basically, Ziedler says to Satine, you're going to have to do a wee bit of a Bella to Charlie Swan thing here. Go and tell him that you hate him and you never want to see him again and he's disgusting to you and that you don't want him. And then he, then basically, of course. So before this, sorry, very important, the Duke has announced that he is going to kill Christian. He's going to murder him when he finds him, if he ever goes anywhere near Satine again.
Yeah.
So the Duke's like, you're dying, and the Duke wants to kill
So
Christian.
you mean Jim Broadbent? Ziedler's like that.
Ziedler's saying this to Satine, yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, the Duke wants to kill Christian, you're dying, it's not going to go well for anybody here if you try and run away. So you're going to have to basically say to him, like, I don't love you anymore, just to save him so that he will leave you alone, right? And that's her plan, and she knows she's got to do it because she's dying now. So
The classic, instead of just going, hey, I'm just going to tell you exactly what he told me and here's why you need to pretend not to like me and we'll work it out later. She's going,
what we know about fucking Christian, he'd probably be like, but it's okay because
I'll sing him a
I'll
song.
sing you a song about dying and then you won't. It'll be okay.
I'll sing
This is a film for people who are musical theatre kids, because not only does Christian solve every problem with the power of song, Ziedler's like, yeah, I know that you've just spent weeks telling him and convincing him you're in love with him, and this is like the peak of that, and you're about to run away together, but only you can save his life by being such a good actress. Use the power of performance. Use the power
That's
of
how I'd get used
acting.
to do it. That's how I'd get you guys to go and do something.
It's like, you're such a good actress. You're the only one that could convince him of this. You're the only one that could save his life by the power of acting. And I'm like, this film is so made for people who want to believe that
Have a better
literally
life.
having a song and dance about things is
It's gonna save everything.
solve all your problems.
Yeah, I guess that's possibly then. It's funny that you're saying that because that's maybe why I didn't like it so much when I was younger, because I really didn't want to do musical theatre. Do you know what I mean? It was always like, shut up, just act.
No.
But yeah, it is very, I've lost my train of thought.
Has this got any juice in it?
No, there's no juice. No juice. Moving along swiftly.
So she goes back to Christian and she's like, look, I don't love you. I'm going back to the Duke. He's offering me money and the best kind of career in the entire world. I'm going to be an amazing actress. And this whole thing isn't worth it, basically. So fuck off. and he's like, no, please, Denny. And she's like, I do. Sorry, I do.
Sorry, I'm gone.
And then he's just like devastated, absolutely devastated.
He's just lying on the ground, grinning. Like he has absolutely no sense of self-respect. He's got nothing going for him.
No.
He's got nothing going on in his life, man. Like Satine walks away and he's like, and I'm just pals with this wee Argentinian bloke who falls asleep all the time. And he like literally lies outside her, I guess, place of work and also home, and is just like on this soggy pavement screaming.
Has to get huckled away.
And then like literally just collapses onto he does a Bella in New Moon. He literally gets dumped and then just goes, I've lost the ability to stand. I'm going to just sit here and sob. Like,
he's the man that can't be moved.
Up, man. Oh no, because you know that's like retract that. Let's cut that from the podcast in case by any chance the producers of the West End adaptation of
see that and they're like,
see that and they're like, the man that can't be moved.
Stop.
So, they go on and do the performance anyway. You've got this kind of little bit with Christian in Toulouse where he's like, remember about freedom, truth, beauty and love, and he's like, go away, mate. Leave me alone.
I'm not ready.
And then he shouts like shouts at him and he's like, go away. And when it comes at Ewan McGregor, you're like, ew.
Yeah.
Ew, don't do that. Don't shout. That's no a good look on you. It's cringe.
Everything else you were doing was very cringe, and that's just tipped it over to fucking shut up, get off, go away. Yeah, nah, he's
like, man, Satine is dying. She's been sold to a man. You know, she's supposed to be starring in this fucking play. She's got a lot on her plate just now. All he has to do is just stay away from her until, you know, after opening night, I guess, to his mind, because he doesn't know she's dying. She doesn't know. He doesn't know until she dies that she's dying. So chill the fuck out, man. Like, just chill out. She's tried to break up with you like 3 times. What's different about this part? Why didn't you just wait it out and see how that played out? Like, chill out.
Also,
your dad was right.
Yeah,
his dad was
bring
right.
the dad back in as well. She makes a very good point that's like quite real when she's like fake breaking up with him. She was like, this is actually my life, and like I'm going to be stuck here forever if I don't take this opportunity to get out of here. And you are like a wee rich boy pretending to be poor, and you can just go home whenever you feel like it. And it's like, stop sobbing on the pavement, man. Just go home. Like, cut your losses. See if you're that miserable, just go back to your screaming dad and get on with your life. Like, you're not cut out for this, man. Look at you. Like, give up. Move on.
Or just, you know, find another theatre. I'm sure there's plenty of others. I'm sure you can write for someone else that isn't in financial ruin with a bizarre love triangle / slavery / nightmare fueled death consumption that we're hiding from. You could go anywhere else.
But he's in love.
But he's in love.
Come what may.
Come what may. As you can probably tell from our energy in this, the tone of this movie becomes very fucking sad by the end.
It does. It does come very sad. So they go on to do the opening night. They're doing the performance. They have ended up. The Duke has insisted that they go with the ending in which the Maharaja gets the courtesan.
Of course he has.
And Christian has not let it go. Of
course he hasn't.
So he goes and sells his fucking typewriter. His
of course
only
he
possession.
does. Fucking these people.
And you're like, why is he selling it? And then he goes to the Moulin Rouge one last time, buys a ticket, gets it. No, he sneaks in, actually. He sneaks in.
Can't even fucking pay for a ticket.
I know, he'd get huckled out because he was greeting outside. He's been banned from his own play.
Sorry, me man. No, the night.
But it's my play, aye. No, the night.
Just like you last week.
About that before you fucking got the paper all soggy with your fucking tears, man.
Just like you last week, though, you were almost banned from your own podcast.
That last episode.
So he gets in via the back entrance, and he is like, he gets a hold of Satine, and he's like, I've come to pay my whore, and she's like, man, get out. get out, you're fucking doing my nutting. I'm meant to be on stage right now, and he's
I'm
like,
meant to be dying.
and he's like, let me pay for you, let me pay for your services. And she's like, you're being a fucking dick, man.
Yeah.
I'm surprised at this point she didn't go like, oh, maybe this was the right decision, fucking red flag showing up now, arsehole. So the play goes on, the audience are loving it, but it's got a very kind of sad tone as like compared to all the rehearsals they were doing and stuff like that. And man, we haven't even discussed this guy yet, because he's in one of my picks for Rogues Gallery.
Villansby the second.
Villansby the second.
Warner.
Is that his name?
Was this
The Duke's bodyguard.
Yes! That's what they written down. Villansby 2.0.
So you see him before. He's in the elephant, and he's also at the Moulin Rouge in the
he's like
first
a
bit.
shadow.
And he doesn't have any lines in the first like 3/4 of the film, and he's just like sitting there looking menacingly and like looking like he wants to murder everyone that kind of goes anywhere near him.
Sneers and growls at the camera. It's like the Duke's like, oh, and if you don't do this, well, you know what's going to happen. And it just like whip pans to him, and he's like, and you're like, okay, I guess.
I'm gonna get eaten by your butler.
But he is just Villansby 2.0. Like, this guy is obscene. So he's cutting about backstage as well. And basically Satine sees him coming up, and she's like, I know for a fact that if he sees Christian, he's going to shoot him. And it's been established at this point that he's got a gun, by the way.
Or eat him. He's going to do something horrific.
Again, like, this guy is so oblivious. Everyone's so oblivious, because it's not like he's like sneaking up behind. He's literally just like standing there like a brick shithouse, holding a massive gun, and just being like,
he's like,
okay.
He has the word, I am a villain, stay away from me. Like not even the word.
Tattooed on his forehead.
Yeah, it's getting blared from him.
So,
You can smell it off him.
but like, Satine's basically blocking their views of each other,
Yeah.
Christians and Villansby 2s. And she's like, she manages to kind of like go back onto the stage, and there's like a bit of a kind of comic physical scene where the gun's getting like thrown about all over the place. And the narcoleptic Argentinian's meant to be the main guy in the play, but he falls asleep again, so he can't go on.
And that's his name, innit?
And the curtain opens to Satine on the floor, greeting, and Christian standing over her, right? And it's obviously supposed to be the unconscious Argentinian, as it must have been for the rest of the play. And then Ziedler is on stage, and he manages to save it, and he's like, oh, I recognise you, you're just in a disguise, you are the penniless sitar player. And then the audience is like, oh, okay. And then Christian's obscene, he's a total arsehole in this bit, starts throwing money at her, and is like, I've paid my whore, thank you for curing me of my ridiculous obsession with love.
He literally makes fun of himself for that earlier on the play. Foreshadows, he's like, oh, and then imagine this guitar player says something lame, like, thank you for curing me of my ridiculous obsession of love, and then he does it, and I'm like, man, the self-awareness is lacking.
The bear is right in front of you, man.
Also, like, she's literally dying, and like, yeah, I get that when she dies he's like devastated, but also I think those are screams of utter mortification. Can you imagine if you absolutely just like showed yourself up like this, screamed at a dying woman who is doing nothing but trying to save your life and love you, because you're just an arsehole and can't keep your chill for like 5 minutes, and then she like dies very tragically and beautifully in your arms, and this all happened in public. You would just be like,
I need to go home. I need to go back to my dad. This hasn't worked
sorry
out.
guys, he was right.
I'm gonna go call my dad.
My summer vacation hasn't worked out. My gap year's gone to fucking clacky. It's gone to fucking shit, man.
So he leaves through the front of the stage, and he walks past the Duke, and they give each other a look, and the Duke's like, I've won, and he's like, whatever, and then he goes to leave out the back, and then you have Toulouse. He like starts literally swinging from the rafters, and he's like falling, and he's like shouts, the greatest thing you'll ever learn is to be loved and love in return, right? And then at this point Satine starts singing the song to him, and then he keeps walking, and eventually he turns around and starts singing it back to her, and he's giving it absolute big licks, like ridiculous.
Yeah, he's the final song of the night. Cosmopol. Fucking 12 a.m. We're going off soon. Last orders on 30 minutes. One last song.
with me.
Carol, this one's for you. Come home.
Shout out to our
Then he go
family.
home with Stephen. This is like,
And then
the way they refer to this song just gets more and more obscene as well, because like they're like, oh, it's our love song. It's our super secret love song. It's our super secret sexy magic love song. It's like, right, guys, we get it.
Fucking hell. Everything's very signposty, isn't it?
And then he turns back, runs onto the stage with her, and they do the kind of final musical bit of the play. And at this point, fucking Villains Be 2 still running about with the gun. Ziedler's like slapping it out of his hand. It comes flying into the audience. The Duke's
villains-
starting to leave at this point. He like
Yeah, the Duke starts to leave. It's
Even
like,
he's given up.
yeah, he's like, well, fuck
Villains
this.
be like the Villains Be before him. I could have done without this scene.
Aye.
One gun chase was fine.
Yeah,
I
right.
literally sat last night. I was like, how is this happening again?
Yeah, if that's your question, I would probably edit that bit out. Like, you know,
what question?
the question you asked me, I think, a day ago. That's so funny. You text me, going, what would you have cut out of it? Because I said, oh, I'd cut some of it out. That's the answer to that.
Brilliant. Thank you for that.
Fantastic. Also, for context, Villansby is a reference to the butler in Titanic. In case anyone hasn't caught up on that episode of the Sorry I Don't podcast, he is also ridiculous, tries far too hard to
Seem menacing.
assassinate this wee boy, and
Fails.
is involved in about 3 too many gun chases for
Yeah.
my liking.
Yep.
So, the gun gets thrown off the stage towards the Duke as he's leaving. He's like, my way, and he's going to shoot the gun. So he goes to shoot, and then who is it that stops him from shooting him? Does he slip on something? That seems very in vibe of his character. He gets, I think, no, I'm wrong. Ziedler punches him in the face.
Oh yeah.
What, the Duke?
Amazing.
He
Yeah,
punches-
Ziedler punches the Duke in the face, and then that's him gone. I suppose that Ziedler's got so much power that the Duke is dead. That's what I like to assume.
Oh,
and
yeah,
then
yeah, fucking Ziedler has had enough of his bullshit and just like takes him out right there and then.
Decks
Melks
him.
He's actually going to be going to trial next week. That's the sequel. Jail. Moulin Rouge jail time.
And then the curtain closes and everyone's buzzing.
The gun hits the Eiffel Tower.
Oh, so it does.
Yeah. Again.
Again,
The
wakes
gun-
up the entirety
the
of
gun
Paris.
Aye.
flies out of his hand through a skylight and boomerangs against the Eiffel Tower. And I like to think that it killed about 12 innocent civilians on its return
Oh,
journey.
it definitely did. And then again, as you say, Paris has woken up again. They're like, oh my God, I've got narcolepsy because everyone keeps fucking singing and doing things that involve one of the iconic monuments of Paris. Oh, like honestly, the number of musicals set in Paris, like that's what I kept thinking of, just like, man, fucking poor them.
So we end the play within the film. The curtain is drawn, and then Satine starts coughing and spluttering. She can't breathe. She collapses. Christian's got her in his arms, and he's like, "What's going on? What's happening? What's wrong with you?" And she obviously knows she's dying, but he doesn't. And then she's like got blood coming out of her mouth and stuff like that, and she's like, I really love you. You need to go on and write our story so that it'll always be kept alive. And then he's like, no, please, Daddy, do this. Please, Daddy, die. I've just fucking mortified myself on stage.
So many times.
No, no.
So many times.
I've just called you a fucking whore on stage.
You're really showing me up here. Come on.
If I'd known this,
No
I
great
would not
timing.
have been a dickhead. Like, come on, man.
Thanks for the heads up.
Imagine I
then-
said that.
And then Satine dies in Christian's arms. And I don't know, like, I know how you felt about it.
Yeah, sorry. All my notes are actually unreadable because they're stained with my tears.
Abby's got a video which we can maybe pop up here where she's just sitting watching.
We'll see.
And she's like,
I sat through this entire film being like, oh, this is good and I still love it, but it doesn't emotionally hit me the way I did when I was younger because I'm a lot more cynical now, and a lot of this like love is not impressive. I was like, really where I was going with that. Love is not impressive to me anymore. And I
I'm
was
not
just
bought
like,
over by wee boys singing to me anymore.
yeah. I'm done with that. So I'm just like, oh well, it'll still be like whatever. And then I don't know what happened. I don't know at what point a switch flipped in my head, but like she hit the deck and I was sobbing. Like it was bad. And that's when I thought it, because like we cried at Titanic, and I think the key element to that was that there was another person in the room to like riff off of, like with our tears. But I was like, this is funny. Claude will appreciate this because she also loves this film. I'm going to just kind of set my camera up as I watched the end of this, and I watched it back, and I was like, this is just distressing. Am I okay?
Yeah, man, like, that's what I was like during Titanic, when you just like breaking down and crying. I was like, are you all right, man? And you were actually just
I've
full
not
on
cried in a while.
sobbing.
Like, this is like the deepest reaches of, and I was like, oh, and then there's a point where he lets out like a guttural scream, and I'm like, me too, man. I'm just like screaming along with him.
So guttural. It always really gets me. I think that I started crying silently, by the way, because I've cried so many times to this film.
Because I've got taste.
That too. She's got decorum when she's watching
silent
films
tears.
on her own.
Silent, sexy Nicole Kidman tears. I was crying, unlike you, and
Unlike
That was hurtful.
but every single time I watch it, I cry at it. It's something to do with how guttural his screaming is. Like,
I got a little tear at that bit. That was
you
good.
can say anything about Ewan McGregor's acting or singing in this, but he is so convincing when he's like, over. It just sounds so fucking devastated. It's horrible. And then the play concludes. He's kind of like, it's such a beautiful shot as well. I love the shot. It kind of like pans up from them on the floor, and then you go past the curtain and you see the people like up at the rafters, kind of watching down and looking at what's happening, pure solemnly. And then it goes to the audience and they're all clapping. Very, very sad. And then we conclude with Christian sitting at his typewriter a year later, and he's like, it's taken me a long time to get to this point, but I'm writing about our love story to keep it alive. And the Moulin Rouge is in ruins, his flat's in ruins, he's all scruffy. He looks more like James McAvoy in this part. Very hot, very, very sexy in his bits. If I do say so myself. And then he concludes his script, and with that, the film concludes as well.
Yeah. What a fucking bummer ending, like.
Aye, it's very bummer ending.
I was kind of hoping that we were going to get the Moulin Rouge would still be open at the end of the big fun musical Moulin Rouge, but it's not.
It is dark at the end, and I actually was like, fuck, I forgot it just finishes like this.
Yeah.
That's it.
Like it really does like finish where it starts when when the film opens with the love of my life is dead. You're like, okay, well, we're going to get to that bit, and there's going to be some. I mean, I guess there's a little bit of brevity in the fact that he's like, and then I managed to get out of my bed and walk 3 paces to my typewriter and write stuff down and do a sort of Charlie from Always Sunny with all my bits of paper on the wall, sort of mashing this together.
Would it be appropriate though if you had fucking Toulouse-Lautrec and fucking all of his posse and Ziedler doing a wee dance routine at the end to kind of lighten things up though? Not really.
No, but I found myself sitting thinking, man, we could really have used a bit of a cheer up like at the end of Titanic. I was like, we're not even going to get a wee Titanic like. Do you know what I mean? Like,
when Rose dies? Or the ship sinks and everyone dies, or
there's a swell when they see each other
very
again.
end of Titanic, you're like, you pass over her little like a crude.
I can't hear this again. I heard it the first time. I know what happens.
You're like, she had a good life, and then she either dies or she doesn't. But you see her being greeted by all the people that we lost in the Titanic and Jack, and they're reunited, and you end on a little like.
I thought that's what we were going to get.
It's a little bit uplifting.
I thought we were going to get a La La Land ending. It's
a wee chaser to how depressing the end of the film was. But this is literally just like, and then I wrote about it.
Yeah, right. So I thought they were going to, because they did a really cool thing earlier when they first sang together and fell in love after his whole, your window was open. After that, when they actually start singing well, they go onto a stage together and start dancing. She's dancing to him as he sings, and it's very theatrical. I thought, as he decided to write it, they were going to dance off onto...
Oh, like she comes alive in his memory.
Yeah. I kept waiting for it to happen. I was like, this is Baz Luhrmann all over.
I just think that's a bit cheesy. I hated it in Titanic.
It's a
I
bit
hate
cheesy.
it in this.
That is a bit Swanee with the... they were really holding back in the first half.
Do you know what? I'll take that. I don't like that trope. I don't really like that trope of like, and then they kind of imagine each other alive, and
I
then
just
that's how
needed
I hated it in
something.
Titanic. I hated it. Like whenever she came back. Do you know, in Titanic I hated it as well because like they met in the ship again, the most traumatic place in her life where she tried to kill herself twice and then her boyfriend ended up dying. So why would you want to relive that? Same as the Moulin Rouge. See if she like came back and she was like, oh, here's the place where, you know, I was like sold to some fucking guy and then died of fucking consumption. Yeah, let's imagine me in this traumatic area. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm not bought over by it.
Or even
That
something like
idea.
maybe the power of their, I don't know, it probably doesn't work because of how evil they made the Duke, but it would have been really, I would maybe like something like the power of their love and dying there. He went, you know what, I'm going to give you the theatre anyway,
I guess
for her, but no.
No, he's shite.
I
dead,
guess you
actually.
don't want to redim the Duke.
Well, Jim Broadbent killed him, so there was no chance of
One
that
punch.
redemption.
One punch man.
One punch.
But like-
He's on trial, as I say, in shackles, singing his I'm locked up. What's the song again? The
Look
excitement?
down.
No.
No.
Yes, if you go straight into the number of Les Mis, look down, look down. Oh my God, Jim Broadbent as John Valjean in the same outfit, but the moustache is drooped over. That would be fucking funny.
you know-
And we would still have Russell Crowe as Javert. And I'm Javert. Anyway, sorry, had to bring that in.
I guess the positive to take from this sort of like epilogue of the film is that a year's passed. So I don't know how long it takes for TB to kill someone, but I guess we can assume he's avoided getting the plague from
Yeah.
her
The
because
consumption.
he's still there to write about it.
He's
so
not got the
go-
consumption.
No, he's not got the what?
Consumption.
It's kind of like when I was hanging about all those folk who had mumps and I never got it. That was kind of class. I was waiting for it. Never got a mump.
Missed out on your Satine. You never got a mump. You missed out on your Satine moment.
Hi, mumps isn't very
Your
beautiful consumption, is it?
One singular mump.
God.
Mind that. Remember when COVID started and we were all terrified of getting the mumps, and it was like, COVID who? Like the mumps were rampant in Stirling at this point.
Aye, the
I
news was like, guys, there's a global pandemic happening, and we were like, aye, but that guy's got the mumps.
I was like, no, I just
I'm
remember
going to stay with him. He's got the mums. I'm going to go outside.
somebody was like, oh, I'm not going to Dusk this weekend because of COVID. And I was like, COVID? Forget about COVID. Everyone's getting the mumps that's going to
There was
Dusk.
a fucking Instagram page dedicated to people's mumps that they had.
That's shocking. I didn't know that.
Remember
That's
you were
awful.
like in contact with somebody and I like made you drink out of like a different cup and everything in my house, but that was like before people ever did stuff like that because it was pre-COVID. Really,
Aye, because of mumps.
All right, yeah.
Because
So I
she
thought
didn't
you
want
were
to
saying
catch
people
mumps
didn't
off me.
I thought you were about to say people didn't drink out of separate glasses before we all just shared a big communal glass.
No, I mean,
was like,
like-
no, we didn't. Eh?
I mean, like
Where
I
the
gave
fuck
her a
you
mug
living?
that I hated and then binned it after
Yes,
she
listen,
left.
yeah, I understand. No, I understand. I just was very much like, where the fuck were you living before? Anyway,
So, I think that we should go quickly into our rogues gallery pick.
Yeah,
So
I actually haven't made my mind up.
here's my ideas. So we've got the narcoleptic Argentinian. I think he's a good contender. We've got the obscene bodyguard who is Villensby 2.
yeah.
My argument against him though is that we've got
Villensby.
We've got a Villensby, and I just don't think he was as an effective Villensby because he wasn't in mortal peril the entire time, whereas
Yeah.
Villensby had like nothing to live for because he was dying on the Titanic, so he just went full throttle to kill that wee
I
boy.
do believe the ship might sink as his bullets rolling down. Aye, yeah, he's not Villensby. He's not got the
No.
riz, the darkness, the whatever the
But
fuck
he's
was going
definitely
with
on
him.
my list.
Aye.
Yeah, he's on the short list. He's an honorable
Yeah,
mention.
definitely.
Toulouse is on my list, especially for his wee Abbey balcony moment. I just thought that was very obscene.
Very obscene.
The Duke's moments, but I feel like he's too evil
He's
to be
he's too much to
in the
come.
Rogues Gallery.
Yeah.
I think I know who
I don't want the
pick.
other rogues to be stuck in there with him.
No, I know.
I think I
Because
know
it's
who
horrible.
mine is.
Who's your rogue?
What's her name? The girl that is just jealous.
The Nini.
Yeah.
The Nini.
I don't even think she deserves.
No, yeah, right. Maybe you're right. Keep going. Is anyone else? Because you've no tickled my fancy with any of these.
Kylie Minogue.
Kylie Minogue.
Yes, Kylie Minogue. That's my rogues gallery.
Kylie Minogue?
Again, though, I feel like we've already got a celebrity "Why are they here?"
Yeah, that's
moment
true. That is true.
with Red Hot Chili Surfer.
Aye, but it's totally different. She's the embodiment of alcoholism.
That is
My
Yeah.
reading, and it's a valid one.
I'm glad
That's
you
the hell
checked
you wanna
yourself
die
there.
in.
Felt myself
Okay.
flaring up there.
What do you think,
How can we
Abby?
be stuck for a rogue here?
I know there's so many. I think it's because there's too many to choose from because
Alright,
the
I
entire
say
film's quite
we
roguish.
should vote it then. We should just vote.
I feel as if we're not.
We should vote
the
it then.
dad, the
We
dad.
should vote.
The dad.
What was that?
Trying to help.
The screaming dad.
The screaming dad.
No, there you go. Fuck
There's
it.
your vote.
I'm quite
Yes.
happy with the screaming dad.
I'm happy with the screaming dad, especially with his random Russian accent.
Implaceable
Or-
accent.
Yeah, the implaceable
It's
accent.
odd because again, I think there's such a strong
Scottish.
implied narrative there, man. He definitely 20 years ago, like Christian is probably the product of a courtesan and his dad. He's just like fixated
Did he
on
do
not
this
letting.
again?
He
It's like, why
founded
has he
the Moulin
drummed
Rouge.
this in?
It's nightclub. I didn't go there, man. They fucking stole it from me. But that was your inheritance. And you fucking lose. You sold it like I did. That was the bit that he's missed out. That he's blocked out from his fucking weird memory of his dad. His dad actually said two things: don't go to the Moulin Rouge because it was actually mine, and they fucked it for me.
Harold Ziedler was like a brother to me until he betrayed me.
That's your uncle.
Oh man.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I'm agree. I think my vote's
Screaming
going to go to the dad.
So is that what we're going to call him, the screaming dad? I'm no bought over by that name. Are you? Is he a dentist? Or am I getting mixed up?
With Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. He's not a dentist. You're getting mixed up with Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Fucking Christopher Lee absolutely nails that role.
It's a similar
Charlie, you
shot though,
have
isn't it?
bad
When he's like
teeth.
giving him the wee gums and that.
It is.
It is. It's quite similar. Like scary dad, kind of green, dark wash lighting, like
Aye.
telling you that you can't do what you want to do, can't eat sweets, can't fuck ladies.
Aye, that's the overall message of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Don't fuck ladies. Right.
What about Daddy Shouty?
Daddy Shouty.
Daddy Shouty. I like Daddy Shouty.
Yeah, Daddy Shouty is good.
I love Daddy Shouty.
Daddy Screamy.
I love Daddy Shouty.
Daddy Shouty. The Moulin Ready.
Daddy Shouty.
There you go. The Moulin Ready, Daddy Shouty.
What about Daddy Can?
Daddy Canny.
Ew.
Oh.
I hate that.
So, do you want to do ratings or?
Yes. 10. I'm done. I'm aware. I have rated 3 films out of 6 so far. 10.
What ones are
I'm
the 10s
aware.
again? You give Twilight a 10 as well. didn't
Twilight's
you?
yeah. 10. All right. And then we've got Point Break, which went from a 9 to a 10 for me. And Moulin Rouge is obviously a 10 because it's my favourite film of all time, and I feel like it's flawless. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I get
You're
you.
really
And it's
taking
correct.
the Titanic approach of I'm going to sit and pick this film apart and say all the things I would change about it, but it's flawless.
Yeah. That's our way of doing it. That's how we work.
Yeah, logic doesn't really matter on this
Put
podcast.
that
No.
on the fucking tagline. Logic doesn't matter.
Actually, my boss asked me today, like, what are you doing after work? I was like, oh, I'm doing a podcast. And he was like, oh, what about? I was like, films. I was like, but not like in an intelligent way.
And he was like, no, I can't wait to see you tomorrow.
This is my car, man. I'm just, bye. No,
So, what's your
I
rating?
don't know. This is one of my favorite films. It's not my favorite film the same way that it's your favorite film. And I think I'm going to do the same thing I did with Point Break and be like, Dirty Dancing's a better Swayze film. I think Romeo and Juliet is by far my favorite Baz Luhrmann film. So I feel like I'm going to give Moulin Rouge a 9 just because in my head the 10 is Romeo and Juliet. Spoilers for when I forced us to watch that one.
Shakespeare and Leonardo DiCaprio.
It's class.
That's going to be a rough week for me, man.
So, right, what's my thinking of it? So when I first watched it, I gave it like a fucking 4. I did not like it. I was pissed off with it, and I was annoyed at everyone trying to make me like it. And it kind of became cool to hate it.
Who do you know that was trying to make you like Moulin Rouge?
Oh, it was-
That's just a
It
really
was when
hilarious
it was
concept.
when I first was at uni, and it was like before the Musical Theatre Society really started, and that kind of
They didn't have an outlet.
They didn't have an outlet for it.
I know, but it's not like it had just come out. You
No,
know,
no,
it's
but-
not like it was.
Well,
it was
I know. It's because they were singing that Les Mis and fucking. It was just. Yeah.
If I had gone to uni at that point in time, I'd be a very different person today.
speaking of Les Mis, by the way, Cammy, our producer, he watched Moulin Rouge with me. He loved it. We'd just been out for a couple of drinks, and then he had a couple when he got back as well. And he was so taken with this film and his also he was like, I love Les Miserables so much. There's so many like bits in Les Mis that remind me of this. Can I show you? And I was like, yeah. And I was a bit less squiffy than he was, and he would just start putting on different Les Mis clips, about 10 different Les Mis clips. Was like almost greeting at one of them. Played one of them like 5 times, and he was like rewinding and being like, listen to how his voice peaks at this bit. Though like goes
Fucking outed, man.
It was fucking obscene. So that's what I had to sit through.
I've heard this from Cammy today, and he tells it. I mean, the facts are the same, but he basically was like, I really love Les Mis, and I was trying to share my passion with Claude, and she was just on her phone.
God.
Listen, man, I was like, what did you think of Moulin Rouge? And he was like, I love Les Mis. And I was like, well, that's not an opinion on Moulin Rouge, is
Yeah,
it?
it's like saying to me, what do you think of Moulin Rouge? Well, Marat's Sad is actually the best musical set during the French Revolution. Yeah, no, look,
Is this set? This is not set during the French Revolution.
No, it's not. But it's done that post Paris, we're Bohemians, we've revolved. We just had a big revolution in the last 100 years. They're playing into the idea of freedom and Viva la France and all that shit. The point I'm making is Paris has never had a night's sleep because everyone's always singing about it. They're either fighting, killing each other, or singing about how fucking shite everything was. But yes, so I didn't like it at first, and then I kind of reappraised it a little bit just when I saw the opening number again when I was a bit older, and I went, oh, that's actually kind of good. So I went from like a 4 to like a 5, and I'm happy to say it's gone up like at least another point. I'm probably going to give it a 6 or a 7. I do like it. I think it's good for what it is. I don't love it. I don't think check in 10 years' time, I may have this little weird, I fucking love this now, because there are bits that are stuck in my mind that are really evocative. It's hard for me to rate because I do prefer Point Break, I do prefer Titanic, and I do prefer...
Do you prefer Twilight? That's an interesting one because I feel like there's similar veins, like not similar films, but similar veins.
I think
how you've taken them.
Twilight's maybe more fun to riff on and more fun to like watch, but I think Moulin Rouge is probably a better film. I think it's like a 6.5 or a 7. Yeah,
Go for one.
I'll do you know what? I'm feeling generous today, and I did have a good time. What was that?
Well, it's Baz Luhrmann's lucky day. Swanee is feeling generous. And don't forget about Wee Craig. Wee Craig is going to be in tears, man, at this. What is it? Come on.
It's a 5 after that. Fuck it, all the good roles gone because of you guys. Nah, probably like a 7. Fuck it, let's go for it.
I was going to say that you'd probably enjoy it more if you watched it with me, but I don't feel like
I
that's...
might have. No,
listen, you wouldn't. You'd hate it. Because I'd be like, but it's good for your mind.
Yeah, but that would probably make me love it more.
If I was like,
What was that?
it's part of one of the songs.
It's just a really random bit to pick.
I don't know. I was just Ewan McGregor giving it big licks, and then
Fair.
therefore me giving it big licks.
To be fair though, we've already lived through this because do you not remember, and like I love Moulin Rouge and I love the songs from Moulin Rouge. And I actually loved the first maybe 15 minutes of this portion of the 4-hour long drive back from Arsig or Skye, one of our many road trips we went on, where on the way back we were knackered and the car had broken down about 8 times, and it was like the pitch black going through the country roads, and Claude got on the aux and was like, I'm going to play the whole Moulin Rouge soundtrack. And it's all these like surreal screaming noises and like spoken word parts and everything, and Swanee is just like, I think you'd already fell out with us a few times that day, so it was like, don't piss off Claude. And I see Swanee's like hands gripping the steering, I must have been in the front, and he's just like white knuckles as like, I keep forgetting
Handy
Ewan
Sad
McGregor's name.
Diamonds are fucking
And like there's like
blasting.
violin music playing, we're like winding up this road, and Claude's like
Like fucking trying to be interesting, like, oh, notice how amazing I'm singing this, and I'm like, I'm gonna crash the
No,
car.
man, I think I was just like, I need something familiar, otherwise I'm gonna have a fucking absolute meltdown. I'm gonna go catatonic because you were all doing my nutting so much.
You basically did go catatonic, but you just sang it instead of, being catatonic. I don't know what you would have
needed
preferred.
it, man, and then I needed it.
That's fair.
So,
That's fair.
yes.
It's like when I was singing last week, and I kept singing from our mystery podcast film. I kept singing the Nun song over and over.
Yeah.
Life in the Vatican.
And
is
I
fun.
was in
No,
a
no,
Catholic
no,
state as that was happening.
no,
Right,
no,
I'm
no,
done.
please. Thank you.
Right, so 10, 9, 7, I think those are good. Those are good.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a pretty solid.
That's one of our. That's one
That's
of our
probably one
higher
of
rated ones.
our better ones. Maybe
Looking at it,
our best. Like
possibly.
overall.
Yeah,
I'm going to do a
It is-
graph.
Oh,
And then
yes,
we'll know.
please.
Then we'll know.
It is a really good film. I don't love it. I have flaws. There's bits I'd change, but I do. I think knowing that it's like as you say, a jukebox musical. So as soon as I worked that out, that it's like a pantomime and it's meant to be.
Yeah, it's a play in a film.
Yeah, I was like, okay, this works.
I don't know why I thought you were apologising there for the fact that you didn't love it. And you're like, I don't love it. I've got flaws. Like, I'm not a perfect person.
That too.
So, do you have any reviews for us?
Yeah. So, just very, very, very quick one, very simple one. Roger Ebert gave it 3.5 stars out of 4. I'm giving it 3, but okay. No, joking. 3.5 stars out of 4. Roger Ebert quite liked it. And he said, the movie is all colour and music, sound and motion, kinetic energy, broad strokes, operatic excess. I don't think there's much to be... I wouldn't disagree with any of that.
No, it's just describing it.
Yeah, he's literally just describing it. We have... Ooh. Right, here's an interesting one. This is a contrary opinion. New York Times wrote that the film is undeniably rousing, but there's not a single moment of organic excitement because Mr. Luhrmann is so busy splicing bits from other films. But he conceded that there's nothing else like it, and young audiences, especially girls, will feel as if they have found a movie that was calling them by name. I mean...
I felt a wee bit patronising.
That's a wee bit patronising, isn't it?
It's kinda-
Like, I agree with his last point, but I don't know. Like, for all the things I would have said, like, it's still exciting at points.
It's definitely exciting.
Even when I didn't like it, I was still like, that was exciting.
I
that
mean,
bit.
yeah, it like takes in tropes. I think that's the whole point. It's like, because it's a play in a film, and it's like, yeah, we're gonna like exercise all the kind of tropes that plays usually show, you know, and we're gonna go with the kind of Romeo and Juliet, like lovers that can't be together type of plot line that's like very popular, and like that was the whole point.
Yeah.
So, aye.
Did he
Shut
mean
up,
songs?
Yeah, is that what he's talking about?
I don't understand what film.
point is.
What?
I think he's saying that everything good about it is the songs, and the songs are good, but the actual drama or the actual like character interactions aren't exciting. And I don't think that's really true.
No.
I think they complement each other quite well. That's what I said. Even at my worst, when I didn't like the film that much, I still gave like a 4 or 5 because I was like, well, it is exciting.
This guy would have loved Raise Your Glass, man.
I actually do want to just like, maybe we can put it on our TikTok. I want to put clips of this film together. So
What is
Raise Your Glass
What is Raise Your Glass?
by Pink. So Raise
Oh,
Your Glass.
fuck, yes,
babe,
yes,
babe.
yeah, he loved that. He needed that. Here's another one that I thought was quite good. The website All Things Considered mentioned that the film was not going to be for everyone's taste, and that you either surrender to this sort of a flamboyance or you experience it as overkill.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree with that. I think I'll concede, despite the fact that I know in my heart that it's perfect. That's because I am perfect, and everybody else is wrong about
Yes.
things that they're wrong about.
Of course.
But it's very Marmite to other folk, and
Yeah, no, totally.
I'll concede that. But
there are people that as much as I love this film, I wouldn't want to watch it with them because I
Yeah.
just know they're not going to enjoy it, and that's going to take away from the enjoyment of it for me. Like,
Yeah.
there are people who just don't need to see this film.
the problem I think with that though is that most of those people, even folk who might kind of not agree with this, would be like, oh, it's too cool for me. I think that's the kind of, it's a bit of a Twilight type thing where they're like, oh, it's a bit lame to like.
I'm too cool for
Yes,
this.
yeah, sorry, yeah.
Just imagine some wee Ewan Mcgregor being like, this is too much. This film's too cool for me. I'm scared.
It's too singy. Oh my god, it's colourful. Oh my god, there's women.
Oh, I'm not ready.
I saw half
that.
of Nicole Kidman's arse cheek.
She was making sexy noises. That was a horrible noise. Oh,
Sorry, malfunctioned.
that's like my fucking Chewbacca impression.
Sorry, I fucking
Sorry, I did. Hands up. Sorry, I fucking did. But I think. Yeah, again, another one you've got. The general critic consensus from Rotten Tomatoes is a love it or hate it experience. Moulin Rouge is all style, all giddy, over the top spectacle, but it's also daring in its vision and wildly original.
yes.
Like, I just love the fact that, like, it's like magical realism. It doesn't feel like it's trying to be real or anything. It feels like took acid and then fell asleep in my own scrapbook. Like the visual style of this is just ridiculous, and I'm like, there's so many films that are like each other. And to be fair, this is like other Baz Luhrmann films, but it doesn't feel as if like that's why I love Baz Luhrmann films so much, because I'm like they're really the only thing that indulges as much as this. And I just love how embellished everything is, and you just don't. There isn't really an equivalent.
I also
to that.
love that people hate it. I love that.
Yeah.
I love
I
that.
do like when a film is hated sometimes. It's pretty cool.
Like, you know, that's fine. Go just go and not enjoy yourself. Go and watch fucking 3 of the same like Bourne Identity films and be like, yeah, guns are really cool, and enjoy that. I guess.
Yeah.
When I can go and enjoy cool music and people being hot
and having fun. And yeah, look, and yeah, I think as well as I'm rewatching Baz Luhrmann stuff or watching stuff for the first time, Moulin Rouge, maybe I could see in a few years' time, could be like my favorite of his, because it just kind of encapsulates everything that he does well, but without. It's not like for example, Great Gatsby is great, but sometimes his excess makes the source material it doesn't make it as good and doesn't do the justice to the source material. Or even with Romeo and Juliet, you could argue, hey, I love it, but sometimes it doesn't necessarily blend as well. Maybe something with Moulin Rouge being so original and having all that style, it could be for me as their film.
I would argue that these films so benefit from the passage of time because they become little time capsules, because they do really respond to like pop culture and things at the time. We have a nostalgia for them as time goes on, because like Romeo and Juliet, it's like got all the stars of the 90s, it's got all the music of the 90s, and also like takes old songs and it puts the musical sort of styles and trends and things like that of the 90s onto them. Same thing with Moulin Rouge. And I think in like another 10 years time, we're going to look back at Great Gatsby and be like, remember when Lana Del Rey was like new and that was everything and everyone was obsessed with this actor, and like it's then going to become this little kind of like time capsule of like, oh my God, that reminds me of being that age. And I think that's part of like why I love these films so much. Even with Elvis, like they did like the Hound Dog thing, but with the Doja Cat version and everything, I'm like, that is just going to become, that already captures like what last summer felt like. And it feels like it's even like taken on like a bit of like what TikTok trends have done to music and stuff, and I'm just like,
that's a really cool way of looking at it, because it ties in what we were saying about, obviously you've got that Red Curtain trilogy and you see his progress of that. I think it's really cool to look at Baz Luhrmann like almost like hitting a period in time with a universal story, but then with as you say, time capsule of like pop songs from that era that just make you go, oh, that's an early 2010s film. Oh, that's 2000 film. Oh, that's a 90s film. But the story itself is
it's
kind of universal.
almost formulaic in the fact it's a fusion of a historic story with a core love theme, and then here's everything that's popular right now, and it works commercially at the time, it sells tickets, and then like looking back on it years later, you have this fondness for it.
No, I think that's right, and I think not having that with Moulin Rouge hurt it a little bit for me, but I think now starting to appreciate it. I'd recommend watching it. It is very ridiculous. It is a bit amazing at points, and you just get swept up in that energy of it. And Jim Broadbent's just.
You want to go to the Moulin Rouge?
I want to go to the Moulin Rouge.
We would have a class night in the Moulin Rouge.
I would die. I'd be happy.
I want to go in the fucking elven leg, man.
I want to get consumption at the Moulin Rouge.
Aye, so do I.
My stepdad took my mum to the Moulin Rouge for her Christmas present, because he thought that they were going to perform the play there. And this is before the play existed. This was like 15 years ago. I didn't realise till he got there that it wasn't a play.
It was 2001, so it would have been.
Shocking.
Oh, the play, sorry, not the film.
Yeah, they like the stage. Like so my mum loves the film.
Right.
And he thought that it was going to be like a performance of the film.
But it wasn't.
It's not.
It's not that.
What was there? Was it just...
It was like the can dancers.
Okay.
It's like a dinner show kind of
so
thing.
It's burlesque.
Yeah.
Right, that's funny. Okay, just last little things I wanted to say. The film has also been pretty well regarded and over time it's kind of got a bit more. There's some really cool analysis I found in it, but we don't need to go into that just now. But what I wanted to bring up was, Empire and their 500 greatest films poll. They put it at number 211. So the Empire magazine in 2008 reckoned it was the 211th greatest film ever made. Which, hey, the number of films that have been made, that's pretty fucking impressive to be in the top half of that.
Yeah. That's pretty impressive and not high enough. But
I understand that, but I feel like just as an aggregate of number one's always going to be The Godfather or Citizen Kane or some shit like that, which are great. I like that a film like this is that high up. It's pretty cool.
Okay.
Film was nominated for 11 Oscars. How many Oscars did it win?
8?
No.
7?
No. You're going to be disappointed if you keep going like that.
3? 4?
It was two. It was two Oscars. It won for what was it?
Best costume.
I believe so. Give me just 2 seconds. I had it here. It won for best costume design, and it won for
I don't know. What, like best supporting actor?
nothing. It was it got nominated for best actress for Nicole Kidman, but she didn't win it. And that was best art direction, which I think makes sense.
I didn't know that
makes
was.
sense.
I think if you'd said something like production, I'd have.
I don't know that was an award. But
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have any facts?
No,
No.
I think we're good.
We good?
Yeah.
Yeah. I thank you for showing me that again, because I would have gone through life not
Giving it another chance.
Not giving it another shot, but these
a 7 now.
these fucking gals, they got me doing it. They got me watching Moulin fucking Rouge and actually liking it. I do really like it.
I'm glad I watched this again. I love it just as much as I've always loved it, even if I did wake up this morning with really puffy eyes before I had to go to work because I cried myself silly.
Aye. Well, I've watched it for maybe like the 1000th time this weekend, and it's just as good as every other time. So, thank you very much for listening to or watching Sorry I Don't Podcast. We'll be back next week with another film we haven't chosen yet again. So we'll see you then. And yeah, hope you enjoyed. Bye.
Bye.
Cute.
Oh, we wave there.